The date today is June 8, 2015. The time is 5:30 p.m. This is the meeting of the Paris City Council, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. We will start the meeting with invocation from Pastor Brad Aldridge. If I can ask everyone to please stand. This would be followed by Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Lancaster.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we are gathered tonight for the business and the interest of our city. I thank you for the men and women who do their jobs and volunteer their time, Lord, to lead, to direct, and to guide. I pray that you give them wisdom. Lord, I pray that you give them the ability to look beyond their own issues and agendas and interests to the good of the city. Lord, I pray that at the end of the night, everybody would walk away confident. Lord, the decisions made are in the best interest of all. Lord, I thank you again for them. I pray that you'd lead them tonight. In the name of Christ, amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You made it.
Next is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personnel appeals, are not appropriate for the Citizens Forum. If necessary, City Council may convene into executive session under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code regarding any item on this agenda. The Citizens Forum is now open. If you want to address, please come forward, state your name, and write your address for the record.
Grover Michael Glatfelder, 1345 Southeast 6th Street, Paris. I would like to discuss item 35, the executive session. Ali Barres versus Ronica Blake in the United States District Court, Eastern District. I was arrested about 2 years ago by Officer Blake. It was a false arrest, I maintain. Gary Young of the District Attorney's Office sent a deputy DA to prosecute me who refused, and finally a second DA who refused, a third DA, and then a fourth DA. For some strange reason, they got nervous when I asked for a jury trial. Officer Blake came to my college along with 7 other policemen and basically surrounded me and intimidated me, and then said they were going to arrest me 2 weeks later. She never Mirandized me, and I believe this might have been the reason I was not prosecuted. I'm going to give you all a little bit of legal advice here that clearly your city attorney hasn't given you, and it's this. Ronica Blake is going to cost you a lot of money one of these days. And this isn't the first time she's gotten into trouble with somebody. And I think you need to settle with whoever this person is that filed a lawsuit against her. And I think you need to take her badge away and send her to another job someplace. And then I think you need to maybe get rid of her boss sitting over there as well. I don't care if he's got a month or 2 left on the job for retirement, or a year or 2 or whatever. But I can tell you, most of the time, if I have an issue and I need a policeman, I just take care of it myself because I don't trust them here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gladfelder. Ms. Haygood, you want to address?
My name is Louise Haygood, and I live at 556 Fitzhugh. Thanks to the editor of the Paris News, and thanks to Mrs. Madewell, who has brought for you a tear sheet from last Friday's page in the Paris paper. I ask you, if you have read it, to read it again. If you haven't read it, I ask you to read it twice, because Linda Work, who wrote this, using the theme, Don't Mess with Texas, has talked about don't mess with Paris. And she is interested, as are all of us in this room, interested in keeping Paris beautiful. She assumes that ordinances need to be passed. And this is not true, so we need to correct this with Ms. Work and tell her that ordinances have been passed. They have been put in a drawer and not used. One of them that I assume is weeds. On my way here tonight, I came down 2 or 3, my driver drove me down 2 or 3 main streets, and city property is not being mowed. Now, just as in education, we are heavy at the top and light at the bottom. We have lots of supervisors, lots of people, but not people who will work. You will tell me that there are not enough workers to cut and mow. And I know it has been raining, but please read the article and take it to heart and know that I am with you in whatever you decide.
Thank you, Ms. Haygood.
Good evening. Name is Rayford Rucker, 345.
Could you talk a little louder so that everybody can hear you?
Name is Rayford Rucker, 345 Southwest 16th Street. And I'd like to recommend that Pastor Reverend James Price be set on the PEDC board. I think he'd be a very valuable asset. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Destin Davis. I live at 431 24th Street, Paris, Texas, Southeast. I just would like to also recommend Reverend James Price for the PEDC. He is active for the outreach of this community. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Sister Rose Lindsay. I live at 947 Dixon Avenue, and I just stood briefly to make mention what this young lady here was speaking of. In order to keep Paris beautiful, we have to get it beautiful. Don't get me wrong, there are beautiful areas of Paris. I love the side of town that I live on. Unfortunately, directly across the street from me is a lot that is chest high that belongs to the city, that I've begged and begged to get it down. Now, Reverend James Price has come up with a brief budget in order to get Paris from loop to loop to loop and up to 20th Street on the east side. And he's saying $1 million in a year's time to get it all clean. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Hudgens, and I humbly request that I be allowed to speak on item 19.
Ms. Hudgens, you can come back when the item is posted. You can come back and address the council.
Okay, thank you.
If there's nobody further who wants to speak in the Citizens Forum, Mr. Babcock, do you want to speak? Sorry about that. I thought
That's all right. Mayor, City Council, I'm Tim Bullock. I live at 4025 Dawn Drive, and I walk and run 5 to 6 days on the trail from Collegiate east to the Loop. First, I want to say thank you for the swath that was mowed either Friday or over the weekend of the weeds. That makes a big difference with all the snakes and everything out there. I also have heard that after the Tour de Paris, there's plans to resurface that area from Collegiate east to the Loop. And I would encourage y'all to see that happens if that's in the plans, because that's as much as it's been patched, it's certainly needed, so thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's nobody else wanting to speak in the Citizens Forum, the Citizens Forum is now closed. Next, we move to the consent agenda. Any of the council members have any concerns on any of the items on the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull item 11 for a little discussion.
Okay, Dr. Clifford for item 11. Anybody else? If nobody else, then I do have a little question on the Airport Advisory Board, which is item D. So, Dr. Clifford, please start.
Okay. Like all those citizens of Paris, I would very much like to see more retail development in Paris. I would like for there to be more restaurants, more shopping centers, grocery stores, you name it. But I think the main way we do this is through primary job creation. I would really like to carefully read all of the retail reports that have been generated by the retail coach, but these were not included in the packet and I have not seen them. I'd like to know whether or not there's been a net growth in retail in Paris as a result of the recruiter. And in short, has our $30,000 been wisely spent? I kind of need this information in order to make a decision as to whether it's worthwhile to extend the contract. So therefore, I'd like to table the item until I've had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's a good idea.
Table died.
Yeah, we'll get you some information
Is that
for
right?
next time.
Okay.
Does,
I'll make a motion to table the item.
okay, let's pull this item out of the consent
Okay.
agenda. So you make the motion to pull the item out of consent agenda and table it. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? No. Item D, I have a little concern, and that is the Airport Advisory Board. There was an agenda item, there was a posting made on this that one of the hangars is being transferred. I need a little more clear explanation of what is being done.
People who lease hangars have long-term capital leases, and they are transferable so that when somebody dies or sells them or moves on, those leases can be transferred from one owner to another. Specifically at the Airport Advisory Board, it's also on your agenda tonight. There was a lease that was passed on from person A to person B several years ago, and then more recently, they're going to pass it on from person B to person C. So it's within the realm where the leases are set up so they can be transferred from one person to another. Because they're long-term 30, 40-year leases, so it's not practical for one person a lot of times to have that lease for the entire time.
But the lease can be transferred from one individual to another. In other words, the city does not take it back. The city is not allowed to take it back and reissue the lease to whoever is in line. Because I mean, otherwise there are people waiting in line.
Right.
And it goes from one person to a friend to a friend to a friend. People who have been on the list waiting for hangars have been waiting forever.
These are capital leases that people have made improvements on, however.
Okay.
And so the reason that you have to let people have those really long-term leases is otherwise they won't make capital improvements, because at the end of that lease, those capital improvements become city property.
Okay.
So if every time somebody left, they would never build anything on those. These are not leases, these are leases of facilities that we did not build, we own the land.
Okay, so you recommend that it just
Yes, sir.
Can I,
continue?
just so you'll know, when he built this, that was one of the concerns he had, and it was discussed then, because he was the one that built the hangar. And he wanted to be sure that he wouldn't lose it. I mean, and this was like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
We have two different kinds of leases. One is if we built a facility, for example, as you recall, right now we're designing a facility to build in 2016, 2017. We will own those, and those are the ones that will address our waiting list. And those are ones, if you don't pay your bill, in a timely manner, or you change your lease, then we put somebody else in there. This is one where they actually built the facility themselves.
All right. Everyone's comfortable with it? All right. Anybody wants to pull anything else out of the consent agenda? No? Then I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we move on to the regular agenda. Item number 15 is received presentation from Mayor Hashmi on water and sewer infrastructure bond projects. So I'll start this. If I can have that first presentation, first slide, please. I've placed this item on the agenda because we as a council and the residents of the city were concerned as to the progress of the water and the sewer bond work. To begin with, I will give a brief presentation on the timelines that have taken place, and after that, we will proceed with a tour of the areas. In this presentation is included the original bond flyer that we sent out to the residents explaining the bond. Also in the presentation is a map of the completed projects as well as the work that is being done and anticipated projects that are to be undertaken. After the presentation and before the tour, there are some questions for the city manager to address so that we will all know how projects are undertaken and followed through to completion. I've put this as questions in the agenda packet. The city manager has received it. And if you actually want to answer them before or after, whichever which way you prefer.
Dr. Hashmi, can I ask for one favor?
Sure.
Can I ask that we bump up item number 23 before this, because they're here and they don't want to stay for hours?
Sure.
If that's all right.
You want to make a motion?
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion that we move item 23 up ahead of item number 15, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? No. Item 23, receive presentation from Texas Department of State Health Services about the Texas Health Communities recognition.
Okay, let me get my bearings together here. Okay, well, she's here, never mind. Good, thank you. Good.
Good evening. I thank the time for the mayor and the city council for allowing us time to come and present to you. My name is Debbie Warren, and I'm with the Texas Department of State Health Services. I'm a regional program specialist with the Texas Healthy Communities Project. The Texas Healthy Communities Program recognizes communities for having environmental, policy infrastructure, and practices in place that are public health priorities for reducing cardiovascular disease, stroke, and other chronic diseases. Communities involved in the program are assessed on 8 priority community-based policy systems and environmental change indicators that are vital to reducing the burden of heart disease and stroke. The Texas Healthy Community Program, which was formerly part of the Heart and Stroke City, was developed in 2003 under the leadership of the Health Promotion and Chronic Disease Prevention section of the Department of State Health Services and the Texas Council on Cardiovascular Disease and Stroke. They also received help from a group of public and private organizations dedicated to reducing the burden of health disease and stroke in Texas. This planning group was brought together by the Health Disease Program at the Texas Department of State Health Services and included representatives from healthcare, business, and school settings. The program evolved as experts on heart disease, stroke, and related risk factors continue to lend their expertise and recommendations for creating a program that is evidence-based and has practical application for community and policy change. The Texas Healthy Communities Program was fortunate enough to receive funding through the Preventative Health and Health Services Block Grant for fiscal year 2015. The funding is currently supporting 20 communities with contracts to implement interventions that address one or more of the Texas Healthy Communities priority indicators. Lamar County was assessed during the fall of 2014 to determine the presence of these 8 evidence-based policy and environmental support indicators and identified important items that help in reducing the burden of chronic disease. There were collaborative efforts in this community assessment by a work group that was coordinated by our local liaisons, Gina Prestridge and Emily Neely, with the Paris-Lamar County Health District. This group worked diligently to collect information on specific criteria for each health indicator. Lamar County had many achievements reported in the 2014 assessment. We are pleased to inform you that Lamar County has received honorable mention recognition in the 2014 Healthy Communities Recognition Program. So we applaud your efforts. We hope that you continue to keep up your commendable community-wide efforts. Lamar County will have the opportunity to be assessed again during the Texas Healthy Communities Assessment in 2016. And having shared this, we are pleased to announce that Paris-Lamar County Health District has been approved for continuation funding on this project through 2016. So congratulations to your community, and I'd like to present you with this plaque.
Thank you very much. So we'll come back to item number 15, right?
Yes.
Okay. If I can have the first slide, please. The second one. The City of Paris Water and Sewer Bond Project was started in 2013 to correct many years of deficiencies in our old water and sewer lines that resulted in wastage of water and persistent expense for repair work for the old lines. The council put it to a ballot and it was approved by the citizens of Paris with approximately a 93% approval vote in favor in May of 2013. The timelines for May 2013 are the following. The selection of the engineering firm, I did not remember the exact date, so I've not written that down. The sale of the bonds in July 15, 2013. Sold bonds with face value of $33,925,000, sold at premium to give net city proceeds of $35 million, which the city received. The total cost of the engineering project was estimated at $4,500,836, out of which $3,091,409.01 has been paid to AECOM. The contracts which have been allotted, the first contract A was bid in March 2014 and awarded to Bray Construction. Total amount paid was $1,852,550. This contract has been completed. Water projects performed included 7th Southwest from Loop 286 to 1st Curve 4th Southwest, West Washington and 13th Southwest going south and east, 19th Southwest from Loop 286 to railroad tracks, 3rd Southeast from Loop 286 north to South Church Street. Contract B1 was bid in August of 2014 and awarded in October of 2014 to Bray Construction. Total amount paid so far is $1,044,651.35, which is 43.808% of the total amount of $2,425,002. This included West Houston from Loop 286 to 34th Northwest, Maple Avenue between 17th Northwest and 13th. Then there were some water projects only. The 19th Northwest starting at Kaufman going south to past the railroad, water and sewer. Sewer collector line from the intersection of Campbell to 28th Northwest going west to Loop 286. Contract B2 is signed with Pittard Construction and it is worth $3,041,970. It has not been started yet. I'm not sure, were the papers signed already or?
I guess not. I think so. Any day now.
Okay. The grand total of expenses spent on engineering and contract A and B1 is $6,296,073, out of which pending payment is $1,383,50. Contract B2 is $3,041,970. Total to current completion at the end of contract B2 will be $10,718,393. The next slide shows the total funds and expenses. To date, including engineering, has been $6,296,073. Once project B2 is paid, total spent will be $9,338,043. An additional approximately $1,380,350 has to be paid to Bray Construction on completion of B1. Grand total spent will be $10,718,393. Original funds which we received were $35 million. So left over from $35 million minus $10,718,393 is $24,281,607. So available to us for further work beyond project B2 will be $24,281,607 plus an additional $10 million of bonds that we had not given up for sale. So total available to the city still would be $34,281,607. So with that said, I'm going to leave it to the city manager. Does he want to talk about the answers to the questions, or do you want to take the tour first?
Let's do the tour first, and
Okay.
I say that because they'd like to get that trolley back to the Civic Center at 7 o'clock. It has another appointment.
All right.
I don't want to keep them waiting for us.
So just so that people know, there are 2 trolleys. Actually, there's 1 trolley and 1 bus which is being driven by Police Chief Hundley. I have a list of streets that we are going to go. So everybody is welcome to join in. I think there's enough room in between the 2 buses that all of us can be fitted in. So with this, we are not adjourning, we are just taking the tour. All right. As we start again, I want to recognize some of the city staff members who did work on the Sperry Street project. The job was beautifully done and it looks awesome. I don't know everybody's name, Mr. Godwin.
We have 2 of our 3, we have a construction crew. 2 of the 3 are here tonight. If you guys would come forward, Tim Moore and Kieran Winters. Nate is not here tonight. He's out of town. But you guys
Come on up,
pop
please.
Come on up. Come on up. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. I want to say one other thing about that, and that is what was interesting to me was that I think when this Sperry Street project was bidded out, there were 3 bids. One was for 90, some odd 95, 99,000. Another bid was for about 70,000. And the city crew did it themselves, and it was for 60,000. So they saved at least $10,000 for the city, and it was a job very well done. Now, as we come on to item number 17, I want to say one thing. It says staff recognition and receive presentation. My presentation on this item is already done. I'm going to ask Mr. Clifford, Dr. Clifford, because he has wanted to present something, so it's his item actually.
Okay, for those of you who didn't go on the tour, I'm going to go over some of the same things we saw on the tour. The first of this is, start off with the smaller item, is the big ditch at, go ahead and get on the first one. While campaigning for city council, residents of 41st Street made me aware of a hazard that they felt was a dangerous thing in their neighborhood. I told them when I was elected I would address the issue and see if anything could be done to help the situation. There is a new slide. There is a really deep drainage ditch just to the west of 41st Street, and it's probably not the only one in town, but things like this probably do need to be addressed by the city. It's just south of Highway 82. The residents told me the ditch was surrounded by trees that were about to fall into it. The ditch was across the street from a small park, and children frequently played in the ditch. And you've seen this ditch if you were on the tour. Next, this is a picture looking down a 20-foot drop off from Highway 82. There's no guardrail here or adjacent to 41st Street. There are a few reflectors though. I showed this area to Mr. Jerry McDaniel, the Director of Public Works. He's looking into solutions as to how this area could be made safer, and hopefully he'll be able to suggest ways to improve this area. Okay, a few weeks ago while I was campaigning, I walked down Houston Street in West Paris, and I saw the construction that had taken place regarding the bond project for the water and sewer line replacement. The residents there were very dissatisfied with the quality of the concrete work, and I made a promise to them if I were elected, I would look into their problems. I toured the city, compared a few local street construction projects. Those of you who went on the tour have now seen much of the same things that I saw. I saw the construction performed on Sperry Street by the city employees, and I also saw, back up please, I also saw the construction performed by Textile on several street corners. I compared these projects to the work done on Houston Street. The difference in the appearance of the construction is astounding, as you have recently seen. In order to better illustrate some of these problems, and for those of you who didn't go on the tour, I'm going to show you a few things. Let's begin with Sperry Street first. This project was completed by city employees for the most part. I think the concrete may have been poured by an outside contractor, is that right? Next slide, please. Here we see a driveway and a sidewalk that were poured adjacent to older concrete. Notice how smooth the concrete is, as well as the smooth, clean expansion joints between the new concrete segments and between the new and old concrete. Expansion joints are the junctions between segments of concrete that are filled with flexible material. These joints help to prevent cracking in the concrete. Next, please. Notice this expansion joint, how smooth and clean it is between two newly poured concrete. This was done, 6 months ago, something like that. Next slide, please. Here's a straight, clean expansion joint between new concrete on the right and the old concrete to the left. The curve of the driveway, you can see, also gently tapers very, very aesthetically. Next slide. Again, notice the straight lines and the clean joints. The work performed on Sperry Street is very neat and very clean. Next slide, please. Now, here's Houston Street. Next slide. Notice the rough appearing concrete on the right that was poured a little over 3 months ago. There's no expansion joint here, and there's already a crack. This new concrete is already cracked. Next slide. This is the right side of the exact same driveway, which is also cracked. Next slide. Here's the next home on Houston Street. Next slide. The newly poured concrete is on the left. Notice the irregular, jagged junction, and you see the saw cut. I don't know what was planned to be done there, but obviously it wasn't done, but there's a saw cut there. Next slide. Which of these repairs would you want in your front yard? The one on the left or the one on the right? Next slide. This is the same segment of concrete we saw just a second ago. It also has a brand new crack a little closer to the driveway. Remember, this work's only a little over 3 months old, and it's already developed multiple cracks. I can only imagine what this is going to look like in 3 years. Next, please. Here's another home on Houston Street, and the new right curb has also cracked. Next. And the new left curb has also cracked. Next. Here's a driveway that was repaired on Houston Street. The lower segment was poured with new concrete. Notice 3 separate diagonal lines between the new and the old concrete. This work really isn't very attractive. Next, please. Here's a close-up of another driveway. The new concrete has very visible parallel grooves that tend to hold dirt. Again, there's no expansion joint here. More rough. Next slide. More rough concrete with a jagged, irregular junction with the old concrete over there on the right. Next. Instead of replacing this segment of sidewalk, it appears it was lifted up and scraped across the other sidewalk. Then they did the repair under it, and then it was slid back in place. Unfortunately, next slide, it doesn't line up anymore. It's a little over an inch offset, so we got us a crooked sidewalk there. Next slide. Here's more new concrete. You can see these big, deep grooves in this. This is the way it was poured. This is the way it's always looked, and dirt traps in that. Eventually, funguses grow in it if it stays wet. Next, please. Which of these 2 driveways would you like to call home? Next, please. Here's one that a strip was cut out the middle of the segment of driveway. No expansion joints, just a simple strip down the middle. Next, please. And here's the concrete gutter repair at the end at Houston and 34th Street. Next slide. The new concrete's already crumbling and forming potholes which hold water, as you can see here. It's dried up now. Next slide. Okay, when I saw all of these problems on Houston Street, I requested a copy of all the city inspection reports pertaining to the project. I also looked up the specifications that were supposed to have been followed by the contractor. I met with Mr. Godwin, who provided me with all of the inspection reports that were available to him. I also looked at the architectural drawings, which this is one of them, that I presume are the specifications that were supposed to have been followed. Understand, I'm a doctor, I'm not an expert in concrete, so I went to TxDOT and I spoke with one of their engineers who explained this drawing to me. He explained this drawing shows all of the concrete specifications, including the required strength of the concrete, the substrate material the concrete must be laid on, the type of steel rebar that must be used as structural support in the concrete, as well as the required spacing of the rebar. The specs also describe the amount of concrete above and below the rebar, as well as the thickness and dimensions of the parts of the curb. One of the notes at the bottom states, quote, curb and gutter to have expansion joints on 30-foot centers at end of all radius points and where new concrete ties to old concrete, unquote. I told Mr. Godwin there did not appear to be any expansion joints between the new and the old concrete. He agreed it seemed that the work was not in compliance with the specifications. Even though I requested all inspection reports, I do not have any inspection report that states that these specifications were followed. Next slide. The citizens of Paris are spending over $35 million on water and sewer repairs. We only get one shot at this. This project will provide modern, reliable sewer and water service to Paris. If the work is substandard, the city will bear the cost of its repair. I would like answers to numerous questions. Was the work on Houston Street in compliance with the contract? Who was responsible for ensuring that the work conformed to the required specifications? How often was the work inspected, and where are the inspection reports? Who is responsible for the inspections? Why does the city manager not have the inspection reports? Were the inspections that were performed adequate to ensure that the concrete was poured properly and with the proper internal specifications? What about the rest of the project that's completely underground and cannot be seen? Thus far, I've only discussed the concrete work. Keep in mind, there are pipes installed underground that can no longer be seen. Were adequate inspections performed regarding the quality of materials used and their placement in the ground? Are there any problems that are hidden underground that will cause expensive problems for the city in the coming years? We, and especially the citizens who live on Houston Street, deserve answers to these questions.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Do you want to talk about answers or questions? or
Sure,
how-
I can go through the presentation you asked me to.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead. Can I make one suggestion?
Yes, sir.
Since some of my questions are similar to some of his questions, you can just answer them in one go rather than.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of talk about a typical project, kind of from beginning to end, and then a little bit about the specifics of our project, although a lot of what I had on that, you had in your presentation already, so I won't duplicate that. There's a number of different kind of phases to a construction project like this, and of course, the first part of that is engineering. You issue a request for proposals or request for qualifications. You cannot hire an engineer based on price. That's illegal for the engineer as well as for the city to do that. So in this case, we issued a request for proposals. We got information from a number of different engineers that were qualified. There's a lot of different ways to do that. Sometimes you give them numerical scores. Sometimes you have the staff meet with them. Sometimes you have the council meet with them. In this case, because it was such a very large project, the council interviewed all of the engineers directly. In fact, some of them you met with on 2 occasions. You actually talked to AECOM as a follow-up finalist, and then recommended or you approved the staff to negotiate a contract with AECOM to do the $35 million project. AECOM had a significantly larger contract after several rounds of negotiating. We reduced that cost by about $800,000 from what they had originally requested, and that was a $4.5 million bid. A $4.5 million contract that you mentioned earlier, Mayor. Once the engineer is on board, the engineer begins design. That includes doing surveying, that includes acquiring easements, that includes acquiring rights of way. In some cases, that may be dealing with individual property owners, it may be dealing with a railroad or with TxDOT, a lot of different folks. So there's a lot of scope to that besides just drawing up the water lines, the sewer lines in this case. AECOM used a couple of different subs for surveying and for other purposes too. One of those subs was HWH. One of those subs was Hader Engineering, but AECOM was the project manager. AECOM is the one that's answerable to the city and the ones that we pay the bills to. Once the plans are developed, in this case, again, because it was such a big project and somewhat complicated as far as numbers of different types of things, or numbers of locations, we brought the list of projects back to the council. The engineering firm AECOM recommended putting them into 5 different groups, contracts A through E, and the council was given a list of the different water lines and sewer lines and locations and lengths and so forth and so on. Our recommendation at that point was to begin to group them by area so that you don't have different parts of town under construction at one time, because that can be very disruptive, especially when you have really bad weather like we've had here lately. And so we recommended that we start with the southwest part of town, which we did, and the work began. As far as inspections are concerned, well, let me back up. I don't want to give you too many details, but for the most part, you don't deal with these kinds of things on a real regular basis to this detail. So given the opportunity, I'll talk. You bid the project out. The engineer, part of their responsibility is to review all those bids to make sure that they are complete, to make sure that they're accurate. They do reference checks on all the potential vendors. And then they and staff make a recommendation of award to the city council. The city council reviews that contract, which the city attorney also reviews from a legal perspective. And then the council approves the contract, it's executed. Bonds are provided. In the case of bids, you have to have performance. Bid bonds are included so that if you should, for some reason, if you should back out of your bid, if you're a contractor, or if you do not perform in some manner, then the city can pursue those bid bonds. Once a contract is in place, there's also what's called a performance bond, meaning if you go out of business, if you abandon the job, if you just do such a horrible job, we have to run you off like we had to on a different contract about a year and a half ago, kind of for all of those reasons. You can pursue, you can go to the bond company and require them to finish the job. And that's not an easy case to make because they don't want to have to pay off, obviously. And the contractors typically don't like to have their reputations damaged. But that's the backup there, so that if you have a contractor, again, that is unable to perform or refuses to perform, or some cases they'll actually go out of business in the middle of a project, or they'll sell to another company and stuff like that, not honor their contracts. You do have the ability to go to the performance bond company and require them to do the work. And that means they'll hire somebody else in most cases to complete that work, and I have gone through that processes over the years. It's not common, but it does happen, and that's why you have it. It's basically insurance to make sure the work gets done. Once you have all the paperwork in place, and that's what we're doing on this contract B2 right now, we're waiting on all the paperwork, the bonds, the insurance, and so on and so forth. And so it's not just simply a matter of approving the contract and they start work right away. A notice to proceed is issued to the contractor. Contractor is given a set number of days in which they must finish the job. Included in a typical contract is the number of days for normal rainfall, normal bad weather, based on local records. So they're not penalized if it rains a normal number of days. If it rains or freezes or snows or whatever the case may be, an excessive number of days, then they can get additional days added to their contract. They have to request that has to be approved. It's an amendment to the contract like any other amendment to a contract. That's not usually a difficult thing, although if a contractor's late, they typically will ask for a whole bunch of days, and then you end up negotiating that through that process. I've also done that a lot of times with a lot of different contractors. It's not whether they're good or bad contractors, it's just part of the deal. They want to get it done as quickly as they can typically, but sometimes it just doesn't happen for different reasons. Sometimes it's weather, sometimes it's for other reasons. At any rate, if they do not finish in a timely manner, you have what's called liquidated damages. If they don't finish, it might be $10 a day, it might be $100 a day, it might be $1,000 a day, depending on the size of the project and depending on how important it is that you get it finished in a timely manner. If you do try to collect liquidated damages, you actually have to show that you have been damaged, and that can sometimes be difficult if they resist that and take you to court for some reason. But that's another protection that you have on a contract to make them finish on time. Sometimes contractors appear to not care if they finish in a timely manner. You don't ever know what's going on internally. Again, we had that about a year and a half ago. Contractor was many weeks late. We got them for $100 a day for over 100 days. So we got about $10,000 back because of their lateness and other issues too that we saved money on that we wish we hadn't saved because the job didn't go well. But anyway, so that's an additional protection that you have. Once work begins, the additional protection we have is we have an in-house inspector. Tim here is one of the in-house inspectors that we have. Tim is on site very regularly. Not necessarily every day, not necessarily all day. It depends on the project, depends on the type of work they're doing on any given day. Sometimes it's necessary for him to be out there all 8 hours while they're working. Sometimes it's not. If they're sweeping sidewalks or if they're grooming or if they're doing something simple, he may just drive by and make an observation. And those are the kinds of sheets that you saw, Dr. Clifford, where he keeps a daily log. It's not meant to be an inspection report per se. He keeps a daily log so that he knows where he was and what he did. And so if there's any questions, hey, when this guy says, I was working on June the 19th and it's 7 months later, or he says, it was raining on June the 19th, I couldn't work, he can pull up his report and say, it did not rain on June the 17th, or if the guy says, I had 9 guys working out there, he can pull up the record and say, no, you didn't, I went by there on June the 19th and there was nobody there. So those are what those kinds of records are. The inspector is always on site if there's a major thing going on. For example, pipes are being connected, lines are being covered up. You don't ever let anybody cover up a line unless you've inspected it. So that does not happen. If the line were covered up and it had not been checked, it had not been inspected, if it had not been taken care of first, then we would require them to dig it back up again. Always that's the case, and any contractor knows that. They're not going to cover something up. In fact, you're immediately suspicious if you come up and there's a line that's been buried. You didn't get to look at it first. You're immediately thinking, okay, what are you trying to hide? Dig it back up. And usually it's because some guy in the field got anxious because you want to get through, so you want to go home. But you have to make them dig it up, and that's always done. So Tim is always there for those kinds of things. He doesn't have specific records to say, I looked at it and I checked it, because he doesn't just visually check it. In the case of pipelines, water lines, sewer lines, there's several different things you can do. Always, you pressure test your lines. You basically super pressure them up so that if they don't blow a leak under that kind of pressure, you know it's a secure, sound line. You also, in a lot of cases, will run a camera. You'll camera a line where you run a camera down the line to see if you have obstructions, to see if the flow is correct, because it's very important for water and sewer both. If you don't have flow, you get low spots and bad spots where it can go septic in the case of a septic line, in where case your water can get unhealthy even in a water line. We'll talk about that a little bit when we talk about airport, because it's such a long ways to the airport from where we are, and that's a problem we have. You also have to do bacteriological tests on water lines, and that's not uncommon. Again, it's not something that the contractor's done bad. He'll put everything in, it looks all good and clean, and you do the test before we turn the water system on after you've done the pressure test, and there's some kind of bad bacteria in there, and sometimes you flush it over and over and over and over and over. You cannot, by law and common sense, allow people to drink water out of that until it passes all those tests. Those tests used to be done, most of them at our own water treatment plant. More recently, we've sent those to an independent lab outside of town. And that's something that has to be done, and again, that's always done. So those are the kinds of proofs and things we have. So that's why you don't see a note from Tim or a letter from Tim saying, the water line looked okay, or I checked the water line. It's because we go way beyond that. We have specific tests that are done and that must be done. In addition to our own in-house inspectors, in this case, because of the size of the project, we also have what's called an RPR, or an RPE, resident project representative or engineer. And in this case, it's Aaron, and I forget his last name, I'm sorry. Aaron works for HWH, but through us, Aaron does an excellent job from all accounts, and certainly from all of our interactions with him. And he goes by the job, again, it depends on what's going on, how necessary it is for him to see it live. He'll go by the job 2-3 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, but 2 or 3 times a week, maybe for a few minutes, maybe for a few hours, depending on what they're doing, so that he knows what's going on, who's doing what, and so forth and so on, so that he knows whether those water lines and sewer lines, in this case, again, this is a water and sewer project, not a road project. He knows what's happening. On a monthly basis, there is a construction meeting, in which case the city, the engineer, the RPR meet. They review the project, the project's progress for that month, to see what work has been done, to see what work has been done acceptably. Most contracts, and that's the case with the AECOM contract or all these construction contracts, is that contractors will submit a pay application or a pay app typically once a month, and we pay every 30 days. That's reviewed for accuracy. If they say, here's a bill for 19,000 linear feet of water line, and we know they only put in 12,000, we trim that back. So those are always known. We know exactly how many feet they've done. We know the quantities, how much concrete they've poured, if it's a road project, how much asphalt, if it's an asphalt project. We know those kinds of things, because at those moments we are counting how many trucks and how full they are and how many lines are laid and so forth and so on. So we do those numbers almost exactly all the time. And again, through no fault of the contractor typically, but sometimes they'll have more on there than they're supposed to have. Once all parties agree that the work has been completed, we do have that bill paid. In all cases, we only pay 95% of the bill. We keep what's called retainage. 5% is kept as retainage. That way, if there's something at the end of the project that's not adequately done, we have money that we can make them do it, and that's almost always the case on a big project. We can make them go back and, hey, here's 2 more driveways and here's 7 more curbs you need to fix because they're not good enough right now. And you're not going to get the last of your money until you do that, until we're satisfied. And so that's yet another protection that we have, that the work is done to our satisfaction. So we never pay them all of the money until everything is done. As far as all of their money being paid, that requires council action. Once the last pay application is made, we have 1 bill to go, 1 bill yet to pay, and we have all of our retainage. we're satisfied that all the work is done and it's done satisfactorily, then that will be a council agenda item. The council will then we have an opportunity to say yes or no, and then the council only will authorize the staff to pay that last bill and to release all of that retainage. At that point, we still have more protection because for another year after you've accepted it, and that's why that date is important, because if you drag it out 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, that's more protection we have. But it's guaranteed by a bond for another year after that. So if we do have any leaks or failures for the first 365 days, they are required, and if the company's not around, if they ignore you, if they've gone broke, whatever the reason, we go to the bond company and we require the bond company to come in and repair, or even in some cases replace all of that work that was done that fails. We've not, one of the questions was asked, have we had any failures on this? This is new stuff, and we've had no leaks or failures on any of the stuff that's been put in so far. Of course, it's not been a whole lot. We're still pretty early in the actual construction part of the project. And let me look at my notes here. I'm kind of rambling, but again, this isn't a road project, so don't get that. But talking about testing, typically if it's a road project, not typically, but always if it's a road project, if you're going to redo a road, you're going to do density tests. You're going to do density tests on the subgrade, whether that's lime or that's other materials that you use in subgrade. You do density test on that. Then you do density test on the concrete or the asphalt that's poured over the top of that. We'll do density testing, for example, on the Trail to Paris work that you approved, which, by the way, should start in September. The bid docs are got started on that this week, or last week. This is just Monday, I'm sorry. For really small concrete pours, like you saw out there today, those are handmade, homemade, and it shows, and that's all they were meant to be. In a lot of cases, this was a contractor whose job, and I'm not trying to defend anybody here, and a lot of that stuff needs to be done over, but just to put it in perspective, for example, the joints, the expansion joints on the curb. 2 things there. One is it's required to be 30 feet. In a lot of cases, there's not 30 feet. In fact, there's only 35 feet in the entire contract. Now, again, clearly doing it, anyway, I won't get into it. Horrible looking joints are just jagged and horrible, and they're not going to last. They're already coming apart, like you said. Those things are not acceptable, and they've got to go back and do those. And again, that's what the retainage is for. Although saying that, they don't claim to be finished yet either, and that's the good news about this. The driveways out there, again, it's not a concrete company. That's part of the reason the work doesn't look nearly as good as the other job, because the concrete guys over there do that for a living. Some of that work was beyond their scope. In fact, their contract actually stops at the gutter line. So anything that they do on driveways is extra work. In some cases, doing extra work, if you don't do a good job, you're better off not doing anybody any favors. And we're responsible for that. And those are the things we'll have to go back. And I took a lot of notes on addresses, and I've talked to 3 different property owners out there just tonight, in fact. And we'll go back and we'll do some of that. The other thing on this particular project, too, that some of you that have been on the council longer may remember, in fact, that's the reason Rufus Hill is still here. Part of the reason is on Houston and some of those other streets. Rufus is the street superintendent, for those of you that don't know that. The plan was, once the utility contractor left, the street department was going to come back and do street work and make the street look good and feel good. Some of the work, like that valley gutter that's so horrible, was meant to be temporary, just to get us through. Some of the work was done in horrible weather. We frankly encourage them, don't do some of that when the weather's really bad, but they got some of that stuff done anyway. But good or bad, we do have a lot of protections in place. As we go, we have a lot of protections yet remaining. And I'm talking about not just on that project, but projects in general. I'll probably stop there. To some of your other, make sure there was all the questions that you asked me earlier, Dr. Hodgman's been answered. You already talked about the in-house crew, the $57,000 versus the $90,000 for doing Sperry. Our in-house crew, since I have the floor, I'll brag. They're really great to have for a lot of different reasons. They're kind of like a special forces for us. If something breaks or something goes wrong and our regular people can't get to it, we send them out there. For example, when we had the giant leak out at the lift station pond down on the north side of town back a couple of months ago, those were the guys out there, along with the regular folks that were down in the pond and helping get through that. Bonds project selection based on the ratings that were prepared by the staff and council, and most of you were, probably 4 of you were around here at the very beginning of that, but there was a rating done by an engineering firm, KSA. And then the mayor met with the utility staff, one-on-one or 1-on-12, face-to-face anyway, for quite a while, and then revised those rankings. And so the council agreed to a ranking of 1 to 500. It was a lot. And so we are, in fact, following up on those. So the first ones, like I said earlier, aren't necessarily, these are the projects that have been done are like number 17, 18, 19, and 20 or something like that. But it's because we're grouping them area-wise, broke the city into 4 different quadrants. Those have been changed a little bit. Originally it was 5, if you'll recall, again, 5 kind of equally sized things. The first one, we cut back on size a little bit because we didn't get any good bids. We got a good bid on the first one. It was a small project. The next one we wanted to make a little bit bigger, so it was a little bit bigger, got the same contractor. Came back to the council again. Council talked about going from smaller projects to a bigger project again. We went ahead and bid out one more smaller or kind of smallish project, which we got a good bid on from Pitter Construction, which will hopefully be starting work next month, and then, or maybe the end of this month. And then we do still have the one big project coming along. The estimate for that's about $22 million. That includes work in northeast Paris, southeast Paris, and also about 2 blocks all around the plaza downtown. It includes work on Clarksville Street and a little bit on Bonham. So quite a lot of work around those different areas. I've got the feet, but y'all probably don't want to hear all that tonight. It's already kind of late. We got a lot more to do, I know. And then the 2 projects, so two parts of the projects that are not yet bid out, and let me back up, I'm sorry. That project is supposed to bid in about July. We talked about doing it as early as April or May. We've had some snags with that because of some issues with rights of way, some inaccurate information we were given by different jurisdictions, but also because of the size of that project. Speaking of inspections, we don't have the ability to inspect that $22 million project adequately with our in-house folks. There's just not enough of them and not enough time. And so that's something that we'll be coming back to you when we do bring you that project, that we will need to either hire an in-house inspector, which I would not recommend, because then once the project's over, you've got an extra person or 2 that you either need to keep paying for no good reason or fire. I don't want to do either one of those. So we'll ask you probably to include some work for a contractor, an independent third party, to help do the inspections on that $22 million project. And then finally, the last 2 sub-projects that are out there include improvements to the Southeast Lift Station. And the reason we've had problems with the Southeast Lift Station is because of it. It's on the agenda tonight too. We're not sure just what the status of the PLMC, the PLMC, Paris Lakes Medical Center, exactly what the status of that is. We simply don't want to commit significant funds to build a lift station large enough to handle that facility until we see that facility, because we're spending people's money and we don't want to build it. We don't have to build it. We don't also want to build one that's too small, and then the next day, right after we get through building that hospital opens, and we haven't built it big enough. So this is kind of on hold until we see what happens with some of that stuff. And the final thing is Johnson Woods. There's a line, a sewer line going down in Johnson Woods. It goes through we've changed it, is why it's a little bit delayed. The original plan was for that to go down the street in people's yards. It was going to cause a lot of disruption. It was going to cut down a lot of trees, and we decided to put it in the drainage ditch instead. And so that was we feel like that's a lot better of improvement. While we're at it, although this is not a drainage project, so we have to be careful using water and sewer money to pave roads and to build drainage, unless we just absolutely have to. We also will get some drainage improvement out there. And there's a whole lot of stuff that our engineers, we can do this and this and this and this. Well, again, this is a sewer project, not a drainage project. We don't have any drainage money budgets for that. But so that's the Johnson Woods thing. Those 2 last projects, Johnson Woods and Southeast Lift Station, we expect those to be bid in early 2016. Probably more than you wanted to hear, but I'll stop.
Thank you.
Any questions you have?
Thank you very much. We'll start with Mr. Pickle. Mr. Pickle, any questions?
No, sir.
Mr. Frierson?
I don't think I have any questions. I think that while enlightening, I think we do need to be really cognizant of there are a variety of circumstances that have gone into this, and obviously staff's working to improve, and I really appreciate you guys doing that. I look back on the inception of this entire scenario, and it was the right decision for the community as far as I'm concerned, but the council at that point made it a very specific thing to point out that they wanted to be minimal in their correction and improvement of roads. And part of what you saw today may be a part of that, maybe it's not. But I do know that was pointed out very specifically by the majority of the council at that point. So outside of that, I don't have any other questions.
Can I skip Dr. Clifford because you presented? Let's go back and then we'll come back to you. Mr. Plata.
I really don't have any questions, but Doctor, I do want to make it. I kind of see where Dr. Clifford and some come up with the question is
Mr. Plata, can you come a little forward so that everybody can?
I think I agree with Dr. Clifford a little bit stuff where the city ought to be inspecting this stuff a little bit better. I think. This as a concept, unless I don't know all of the details of it, but just from the outside looking in, it just seems like something may have slipped by the wayside.
Anything else?
No.
Mr. Jenkins?
I don't have any questions right now, but by just looking at all the pictures and the little trip we just took, I'd like to see things get done right if we're going to do it right.
Ms. Lancaster?
Well, I have real questions about why we would want to accept a job that looked like that. It looks to me like we need to have an outside inspector for this stuff. I mean, yes, we can go back and fix it, but isn't that paying double? So I'd like to propose that we have an outside inspector inspect this work.
I have some questions. If you want to address Dr. Clifford, you can go and then I have a couple of questions. John, you mentioned some camera checks and pressure testing. Was that camera check done on these lines? Were pressure testing done on these lines?
Pressure testing is always done on water lines. I think this is a sewer line in Houston, isn't it?
Well, I'm not just talking about Houston, I'm talking about...
Yeah, any water line, we pressure test any water line, always.
So we must have some record somewhere of these, I mean, there has to be some documentation of that.
Yes, there'd be documentation of those, of testing, but not an inspection of report, so to speak.
The water lines are hydrostatic tested, sewer lines are manifold vacuum tested, they're cambered, if the sewer lines are laid in place, sometimes you can't...
Could you come up so that everybody can hear you?
My name is Tim Moore, by the way. I'm the inspector. Not only did I inspect Houston Street, I also was the inspector on Sperry Street, the one that you guys seem to like so much. The difference in the jobs was the one on Sperry Street, I managed the money on Sperry Street. The one on Houston Street, I didn't have anything to do with the money or the contract. It was already handed out, and I was just over it. As far as the inspection reports, I filled out on them. I'm a utility contractor before I come back to the city, so that's what I know is water and sewer lines. The water lines are hydrostatic tested. You pump them up, test them, hold them for so many hours to make sure there's no leaks. Nothing gets out on sewer lines.
Tim, none of us, I think, are experts on that, but my only concern would be, the reason why I'm asking the question is that you know it and you probably know how it's done. We certainly don't know how they are done. My question is, if they are done, there should be some record kept of it, that these tests were done. And the other concern that I have is whenever you've awarded the contract, and maybe it was all done, I'm not saying it wasn't done. Mm-hmm. Supposing a certain type of pipe was specified, that this type of pipe, which is this wide, et cetera, is laid down. Mm-hmm. If one has not kept a complete record that this was checked, that this pipe was laid down, it was this, these were the specifications of the joint, this was the specification of the pipe, then going back, how does one find out whether truly that was done or not done?
As far as the pipe,
not just the pipe, I'm talking pipe as just an example. Pipe or whatever is laid on top, I don't know what all is laid down on top, but whatever is laid down on top, I mean, if one doesn't keep a complete, accurate account of that, this is what I did, and this was checked, the pipe was this classification, this is how it was covered, and we checked it. If we don't keep a proper record of that, and I'm not saying we didn't, I'm just saying that maybe you have it, but then it is very hard to go back and complain that, you know what was it?
A lot of things that you may have seen that's in an inspection report is, some of it is a daily log of what went on throughout the day, starting from one station to the next. A lot of the other stuff is in the actual drawings that I have in the truck. A lot of that is from where they started, anything that changed from that day, from where they started to where they ended, anything that may have varied, any conflicts they may have had, phone lines they might have cut, water lines they might have cut, water lines that wasn't there, things of that nature, pipe sizes, anything that differentials from the plans. If it didn't change from the plans, and it's not wrote on the drawings, then it means everything was put in as it was drawn, because I'm not an engineer. It was put in exactly in the ground as it was drawn on the drawings.
Does the engineer go and check it?
The engineers?
Yeah.
Occasionally they do send an engineer out from the local office. They'll come out and check. Matter of fact, they had one out just 2 days ago. He come out and looked at the job site over on 19th Street and looked around a little bit, kind of peeked around and said everything looked good to him. I don't know what he was really looking at. They were pouring a manhole at the time. So they do come by and check.
Okay. And the other thing John mentioned was density testing. Were density tests done on the places where we redid the roads or whatever portion of the road that we were doing?
Yes, sir, there was. On Houston Street, there actually was. There were density tests took on Houston Street.
Okay. And so we have a record of doing those tests.
Let me clarify. You're talking about compaction of the, at the lines, above the lines, or are you talking about where the concrete was poured?
There was density tests taken in the road, on the road cut, where the water line was laid in the road.
Okay, and I think that may not be what you're asking. I think you're asking about the concrete on the driveways.
I'm asking for both, actually.
Okay, so probably a yes and a no.
Because my concern was the compaction underneath where the concrete was not near as important as it was where the actual road cut was, because the concrete would cure up and be a lot more firm than what the road was. And the density test was done by Apex, and it did pass. And there was still some subgrade failure, even after the report said that it passed. But after it passed, then we had snow and ice, and even though it had passed and it said that it was solid, and they come back in and put a sub base in after that, and we still had some subgrade failure in some places, and they come back and did some patchwork. And I even noticed when we were over there a while ago, there were, even after they put hot mix down, that there was a couple of places where there was some dirt that had pushed up. And sometimes because a trash truck rolls over it, or where it's tandem axle, where there's a weak spot. But there is also in that particular part of the neighborhood, it's like there's a spring or an old pond or something that's back there. Even when it's not raining, there's a lot of moisture that runs down at the corner of 35th, I believe it is. Right there at the intersection, there's water that runs right there all the time, no matter if it's raining, snowing, or what. And they fought that the whole time, whether it was snowing, ice, or whatever. They fought moisture over the whole entire time they were there.
Okay. The other question that I have is, in the contract, is it not specified? It's not for you. Thank you.
Okay.
Is it not true that? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you asking him something?
Go ahead.
Mr. Fry?
That was my question too.
Okay. Is it not specified in the contract of how far do you, if you cut my driveway, how far are you going to go in and repair or not repair it, or how you're going to repair it? And I understand that we might have money left to go back to them and tell them to fix it, which is a good alternative. But to begin with, why should one get to a situation of needing to exercise that right? One should be able to say that, the job was well done and it's over, just like on Sperry Street. And so, and if the argument is that Sperry Street was poured by a concrete contractor, is that something we should be doing wherever we pour concrete, so that it might end up being a little bit more expensive, but the thing about it is that the job will look nice and people will be comfortable with it?
Several different answers, if I can remember all of them. One is the question about the contract. And as I mentioned a little while ago, the work that they were required to do is to go to the edge of the gutter So that doesn't include driveways.
John,
Now-
I'm going to stop you for a second, because the papers that you gave me specify that.
Specify they're gonna replace everybody's driveway?
Well, not the entire driveway.
Okay, well, and that's,
But that's what I'm saying, that it says that they will go, if they cut somebody's driveway, they'll go to the first joint and replace it up to that.
right. And so the second part of that is tangentially, if we disturb somebody's driveway, we're required to put that driveway back at least as good as we found it. What we looked at tonight, that didn't happen in several cases. You know, somebody made the comment about why would we accept that work, and kind of the same thing you're saying, you know, why would we let them do that? Well, we don't know what it's gonna look like when they're doing it. We can, as an inspector, you're not managing the project, and that's kind of different in Sperry and Houston. Tim wasn't, he was on, at both projects, he's not managing, one of them he managed, one of them he inspected. And as an inspector, his job is to say, you're doing that wrong, you're not doing that well enough, or you're gonna have to go back and do that again. You can do it if you want to, but you're gonna have to go back and do it again right later on. And that happens. We've not accepted this work. This isn't on your agenda to accept this contract. This contractor hasn't asked to be paid for all of that. He's not said it's finished to my knowledge. I haven't gotten that word anyway. And it's certainly in our minds, it's not a finished project. So it's not a matter of we think it's okay. We've never said that, to my knowledge. I haven't. I don't think Tim has. As far as you know, kind of going backwards too, I want to clarify this because I want to defend Tim as strongly as I can. I can tell you, and I talked about this a little early on, is when something significant happens, like they're building a manhole, they're laying pipe, they're covering up pipe, Tim or somebody else is going to be there. That's just not happening. That is just not happening. If anybody's accusing anybody of that, I don't think anybody is. If you've heard that complaint, I'd love to know specifics because I don't believe that's correct. There's a big difference between, you know, laying that 18-inch line wrong and doing a poor job, and there's no argument about that, poor job on some of those driveway fixes and some of those curb fixes. So I hope that's not something you're worried about because those things are covered, those things are taken care of. And as, like Tim said, the way he keeps notes on those kinds of things is, as he goes, he creates basically an as-built drawing. And if you're familiar with that term, the engineer says, this is the way it's supposed to, the engineer sitting over in his shiny office in Dallas says, this is the way it's supposed to go. And in real life, sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So in real life, the contractor, the RPR, Tim, sometimes Sean Napier, different people, they have to say, well, you know, the way they drew it over there in their office isn't going to work, so we're going to do this and this and this instead. So Tim draws it on his notes that he keeps with him all the time in his truck. And that might be a worthwhile trip to go ride with Tim in his truck sometime if you really want to get into that knowledge of that business. That's where you find this is what happened, this is what changed. And as he said, if that's not there, then it's according to the plans. He doesn't need to write down it's according to the plans. He's already got the plans. They're supposed to build the plans. He writes out and he draws. Sometimes they even GPS locations if they change things because there's no need to draw things out that are already drawn out by the engineer, the professional engineers. One other thing too, and going back, and certainly, however the council wants to handle this is absolutely okay with us. I think Mr. Farsi mentioned, we talked about roads a lot early on in this project. A couple of y'all were not on the council way back then. The original engineer that we talked to that did that study for us came back with, here's all the water and sewer lines you can do, and here's how much it's going to do to fix all those roads when you get through. Well, the roads were going to cost more than the water and sewer lines, and so the reaction to that was, well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be spending all of our money on roads because we told people that we were going to spend on water and sewer lines. And so, you know, maybe we've pulled back too far, and we're trying not to spend money on roads because that's not what this money's for. And so, if the council wants to come back, whether it's with Rufus's folks from the street department, or it's another contractor to come do the final work, again, that's a council decision. We're certainly happy to make that happen.
Mr. Godwin, how could this possibly have been right? I mean, it says there shall be expansion joints. There was not any put in. The contract says it will replace the driveway to the first expansion joint. Now, I'm not saying whether that was the right or wrong thing to do, but it's in the contract.
Right.
And it wasn't done. How could, we can't after the fact say, oh, well, that's not right, but you can't look at it and say that. I mean, it's on the face of it, it couldn't have been right. Okay, given the work that they did not fulfill, it appears they didn't fulfill the contract. If the contract required them to have expansion joints and required them to replace the driveway, if it did, then they did not fulfill the contract. That's the question. Did the contract require the quality of work that we saw on Sperry Street, or did it not?
Dr. Clifford, can I finish my question if you don't mind? Just last two things. First of all, you don't need to defend him because we've seen he's done a good job, so you don't need to be defending him. There's no reason to defend anyone. Number two, I want to clarify that this is not a blame game that who did this or who did that. The intention here is that the citizens of Paris, who we all promised to, that please approve this bond so that we can do a good job and replace your water and sewer. We just want to be sure that that job is done right. So that next time when we go to them to ask them that now we want to do the streets and maybe we need some more money, that they do listen to us and they don't come and back to us and say, you know what, we saw what you did last time, take a hike. And so that's the intention of all of this. This is not a question of whether it's my fault or your fault or Tim's fault or contractor's fault. The intention is just to have a good product at the end so that when we do go back as elected officials to ask them that we need some more money to do a good job, that they all listen to us and they say well and good. So that's number two. Number three, which is I'm going to shut up after that, is that please don't bring up the road issue right now. We all know what we approved. The citizens know all what they approved. And yes, we did not approve money for the roads other than the repair work, which we all know that. Let's not complicate the issue by saying that we didn't have enough money for the road, so we are doing a bad job. No. Whatever job we do, we need to do it well. Whether it was a little portion of the road or a big portion of the road or whatever it was. So with that said, Dr. Clifford, if you have any other questions,
I just want to see the jobs done
Yeah.
to the specifications.
Can I ask a
Well,
can we please go in order, Dr. Clifford and Mr. Pickle after that?
I just want to, wait, go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead, no.
One of the two, please start.
Well, let me, if I can just jump in, because I don't want to lose my thought. Your comment, your question, your last time, I agree with what you said. If I sound like maybe I've misstated, I don't agree that work is okay. I believe most of what you talked about tonight, maybe all of it, needs to be redone. I agree completely. That's not what I was trying to say. Two parts. One is, that's a small part of the overall project, and what I was afraid of, because I was hearing comments about water lines and testing of those things I'm convinced are completely right. But no, I don't agree that those driveways are okay. I do not agree that those curbs are okay. No, clearly they were not well done. And I think a lot of that work needs to be redone at their cost, not at our cost, at their cost. So I agree with you. I have no disagree with you there.
Then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. I mean, anytime you go out and you probably have the same reaction. You go through and you look and you physically cringe. It looks so bad. Yeah. It needs to be redone. And just
I mean, that's why the tour was so helpful. You had to see this, and you had to see it done one way and done another way.
I agree with you completely. So we're on the same page on that, I promise.
Mr. Pickle.
Okay, the only concern I have is that we may be jumping to a conclusion that's a false conclusion. We haven't been presented with a bill to pay for this work. You have a neighborhood that had their front yards busted up to put sewer and water lines in. The alternative was to go back in there and get it all done, but not do it until it was the proper time. And you sure don't really want to do concrete and have it permanent. I mean, we were talking on the way, all that nice work that we saw done, that was done in the summer. All the work that we saw done on Houston Street was done in, as you said, the past 3.5 months. And it's either been cold or rainy, the weather's been crappy, and I would rather have a substandard driveway for the time being until the weather is permissible for them to come back in and do it than nothing at all.
Surely you're not saying the plan was to jackhammer those things up again. I mean,
can we please go in order?
I'm saying the plan may have been to do it right, but they can't get in there to do it until the weather is conducive to the work.
Well, and I don't know, none of us can speak for the contractor.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe
So-
we need to talk to the contractor.
The bottom line, from my perspective, is this. The contractor is responsible for the finished product. The product is not finished until you say it is. And by you, I don't mean the staff or the city, I mean the city council. So until you say the product's finished, it's not finished. And we all around here, I think, agree right now, it's not finished. And so that'll be up to that contractor to tell you, if we all disagree, to convince you that it is. But he's not trying yet. That's the good news at least.
All right. With that said, does anyone have any further comments?
Yeah, I do.
Please.
Again, I want to go back to this point, and again, John just stated it very well, that the project is not complete, but the staff and the contractors basically were given two edicts when all this went down. It was to get it done as quickly as possible and to minimize the work on the roads. That was essentially what was said to them. And is this a result of that? I don't know. So John didn't bring up the roads, I did. But, you know, I think we need to understand that John's right. It's not finished yet, and your concerns are valid. Don't take anything away from that. But, you know, we're all works in progress. Do we need to modify? Do we need to change? I don't know, but it certainly looks like the initial results need to be a little bit better. So,
You have any other comments? Anybody else? You were saying something about,
Well, I'm just concerned about us performing the same, here's a driveway, it's not acceptable, we're going to go ahead and do it unacceptably, and then we'll have to tear it up and put another one in, and that's paying double for the same cement, and I don't like that.
But we will not. That's their responsibility.
I know.
if you need to talk, I'll give you time to.
And so I really think we need to have some sort of outside inspector who says, okay, this is fine, no, you need to stop and do this right. Let's don't do this twice.
Is that what you're making? This is
I'll make a motion.
Okay. So what are you motioning? Let's hear it clearly.
That we have.
Wait, that's not on the
That's not an
agenda.
action item.
That's not an action
It's
item.
not an action. It
No.
is an action. Discuss
Where?
an act.
Huh?
Apparently, you have a which number are you on then?
17?
Discuss an act. Okay, sorry, I was reading in the beginning, so I overlooked that part.
You know,
So-
but you're aware we did have outside inspectors for quite a while. And
We do now.
Oh, and we do now?
We still do.
Oh, well, then what are we approving?
Well, if we have these outside inspectors, where are the reports?
Why don't we get a better understanding of what happened before you start making assumptions and want something else?
Well, it's not an assumption that all of those driveways are pretty bad. That's not an assumption.
Okay, but I don't like.
All right, it's not an assumption, but just like Mr. Pickle said, they could have put it in, and with them knowing all along that they're gonna come back when the weather's right and make it right. We don't know that.
Well, we don't know that because we haven't been told.
Can we ask?
We don't really know that because, like Dr. Hoshby and Dr. Clifford said, we're not engineers.
Well, no, I'm not an engineer,
Well,
but
you
I can tell you
asking to
right,
see the
I can
reports.
tell you immediately that they're not acceptable. I'm no engineer, but I can tell you they're not acceptable. If it were one of my driveways, I'd be having a fit.
Are you making a motion or you're not making a motion? That's what I'd like to know.
I'm making a motion.
Okay. What is your motion?
Can we ask?
Here, Mr. Harper?
Dr. Hoshby and fellow staff members. In the contract you have before you, in the original AECom contract, you have line items for inspectors. Those monies were reserved when the project went to bigger level dollars that got out of the scope of your organic staff. It is, at this time, it's your engineers, it's in your engineers' hands and your city manager's hands, and they chose to say, at this time, we're in good shape. So you can choose, you've already got that, Ms. Lancaster. You already have that availability in your staff. You may go to another party.
You're
but
going
you
to tell me that those driveways are...
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. All I'm saying is that you already have that in your original contract if you want to exercise it. It is your choice.
Why are we having to ask to exercise it? Why isn't it just a matter of course?
I'm just, if you wanted more inspectors.
Anytime I've built a house, I have had inspectors all along the way. I didn't have to ask for them. They came because that was in the original contract. I didn't have to prompt them. So why are we having to prompt? You say it's in the contract, why aren't we getting it?
Ms. Lancaster, I think he's saying
You
that
have
in the
the-
bigger portion of the contract, there is money allocated for inspection. Is that what you're
Absolutely,
saying?
sir. There's
And in
money
the smaller
allocated.
contract, there wasn't money allocated?
That's correct. And
Okay.
because the city, and that's, the city chose to use that money to put more pipe in the ground. And that's what they wanted. And I don't, if the quality of work is not good, you do not have to accept that work, and that work can be redone without your expense. I just want to give you that piece of information, ma'am. You already have the inspection if you'd like it in the contract.
Any discussion on, is that still your motion, or you?
Well, I'm just not happy with the work and how it's been performed, and I'm hearing that we had some relief by somebody who would come and inspect, but I didn't have that information before. Now, all of a sudden, it's being presented, so I'm not sure we really have it.
Do you want to rethink this, or do you want to keep with your motion?
I would like Mr. Harper to show me where it is in there.
Ms. Lancaster, I don't have that.
No, I know you don't have
I
it.
can bring that.
I understand that, and that's why I would be willing to put it off until you can show me. I'm a show-me person.
I'll be happy to do that, ma'am. I'll have my, we'll
Because
bring
if
that
it's
back to
not
you.
there and our citizens can't be protected, then we're going to have to do something better.
It's, in the original breakout from the engineering side, there's surveying and design and quality assurance, and there's line items for inspection. And no, we made the, as a body, we made the decision or correction that when we get bigger work, and whether it's $22 million at a time, that is too much, that's too many moving parts at one period of time to manage. And so we pushed that work on. But I will show you in the contract if you'd like
Well,
to see that.
it bothers me that we would accept any work, even if it's just 2 blocks straight.
It's not accepted. It's not, I don't,
The diagram just
Let's
shows
please
complete.
not get into arguments. I mean, let the person express his opinion, and you'll have your time to express it.
Yes.
So,
If you're perfectly happy with it, I'm sorry. I'm not.
With what?
The work.
It's not done.
Didn't look
Mr.
like
Harper,
anybody
finish
was
what you
working
have to say.
today.
so I will go back and present those facts for you, ma'am.
I would appreciate that.
You're
Thank you.
I do have a question. The next contract that is being given, which is the $3.2 million contract, does that have inspections built into it or not?
We have a budget for inspections, and to clarify what we were just talking about there, and of course, Councilmember was there when we met with AECOM way back, with Mr. Wright too. We budgeted that. The expectation was that we would use our in-house inspectors until they got too busy where they couldn't be on the job site on a regular basis. That has not happened yet, and if there's concern that they're not doing their jobs, that's a different issue. But as far as being able to be on the site, Tim has so far been able to be on the site. We don't know with this next project, how quickly it moves, if he's gonna be able to or not. We have the money if we need to, and if y'all want us to go ahead and just do that anyway, we can have Tim do other things. And as I mentioned earlier today, absolutely on the $22 million, we can't even come anywhere close to managing that. The next project's gonna be kind of could go either way, we don't know yet.
Okay, no, but my question to you is there inspections built into the next contract?
There is money budgeted for that purpose if we need it, yes.
Okay.
Will the concrete be inspected? Because that was the issue we brought up here, was I see nothing, there are very specific specifications for the concrete. And is that going to be part of the inspections to say, yes, the concrete is supposed to have rebar, it's supposed to be spaced this much, it's supposed to be this thickness, it's supposed to have this grade. I mean, it's very specific. It's just as specific as any other part of the contract.
Right.
But for some reason, we're not paying attention to those specifications. And the result is what you saw at Houston Street. So my question for you is, will there be inspections on that the concrete is being repaired according to the specifications that are required?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But let me say, I cannot guarantee you that work will be done 100% correctly in advance.
Well,
It may be
you
that we
can-
catch them doing things incorrectly as we go. So I just want to be clear that, you know, we can catch them, but we're not doing the work ourselves in this case. But sure, that's a priority. And again, I don't disagree with anything you're saying about the quality of that work out there on that concrete.
Ms.
I don't think Tim's think it looks great either.
Ms. Lancaster, if you don't mind, can I make a suggestion? Can we put it off till the next council meeting?
Well, that's
And let
when
Mr. Harper bring it so
Mr.
that
Harper
you're
can-
satisfied and
Can bring it, and I can have an understanding of what should have happened in that instance, and how it doesn't happen again.
would you like to take your motion back or not?
I'll take it back, we'll,
Mr. Pickle, you wanted to add something?
No, I thought that when y'all approved the contract with all of this, the construction, y'all looked at the contracts.
Yes.
yes.
Well, you didn't see it, you don't remember seeing it?
What, the specs that are written in there?
Well, or about the engineering reports, or what's required as far as approvals and things
I
like
don't
that?
recall that we were not going to receive them. I certainly don't. And if I missed that, I'm sorry,
Well,
because it's important. It's important our citizens get the best work we
I'm
can give them.
not arguing that. I'm just asking for a little common sense.
Be nice.
Okay. Any further discussion from any council member on this agenda item? Since it's an action item, I needed a motion to either table it or whatever you want to do. You want to table it for the next
I
time?
make a
so
motion to
proceed it?
table it till the next time.
Okay. Do I have a second on this? Is there any discussion? No. All in favor of tabling it till Mr. Harper brings the contract for Ms. Lancaster next time? It's a vote, so whatever I
What
supported.
are we voting on?
Table
Just
the item.
tabling to look,
Table the item till Mr. Harper brings the contract. She has taken her motion back. So table the item till Mr. Harper brings the contract which satisfies her.
Did it have a second?
Yes.
Okay.
And we said discussion after that. So if you would like to hear what we have been discussing, all in favor of it?
aye.
Anyone opposed?
Oh, no, I'm for it. Why not?
For what, Mr. Pickle?
For us to waste our time some more on this thing. So
Okay.
let's go right ahead.
Good enough.
Never wasted on the citizens, I'm
The
sorry,
motion
sir.
is to table the item
It
till
is
the
wasted.
next meeting, till Mr. Harper brings the contract to satisfy Ms. Lancaster about the inspections, the money allocation for the inspection. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not still sure what Mr. Pickle voted, so please
I
clarify.
voted in affirmative.
Okay. Mr. Frierson?
Opposed.
Opposed. So 6 to 1.
One.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a Wednesday conversation.
All right. I take it that we have covered item 18 with your presentation?
Gosh, I hope so.
Okay, all right. Item number 19 is reconsideration of the request by Debbie Hudgens and David Dennison for disannexation of property located on Airport Road and 2650 Wildwood Lane. I'm the one who placed the item on the agenda per request of both the individuals. I do want to clarify one thing, that there were some concerns that we didn't go to other residents on Airport Road. I did go to everybody's house and left my phone number and my card for them to call me in case they had some questions or concerns. Ms. Hudgens had responded. I did not hear or get any emails from anybody else. So I'll let Ms. Hudgens say what she wants to say first, and Mr. Dennison after that. And the background of this is that these people were promised services last time, and they've still not gotten anything, and there's no approval or anything in that regard so far.
Thank you, Mayor, and your fellow councilmen. I thank you for your time. You must have been tall. Okay. We were annexed, of course, in 1998 and promised services. Okay, then in March of 2013, I contacted Mayor Hashmi as my councilman and asked the details of disannexation process, to which I followed. That was item was tabled at that time, and again there was mention of providing services. Mayor Hashmi asked staff to explore other areas in which to help the Hudgens. Councilmember Wright said they would provide service, they should provide service, reduce rates, or disannex the property. Mr. Godwin said he understood folks were frustrated and wanted to give council time to think about this and the staff to assist with research, and then it was tabled. It came up again in September of 2013. Again, we were promised services. In April, there was discussion, this is all from your minutes. Councilmember Wright said those not getting full city services should either be disannexed or given some kind of a relief on what they have to pay, or that they should be provided full services. Mayor Hashmi agreed with Councilmember Wright. Then in May of 2013, there was discussion on the plans for the annexation, disannexation request. Mayor Hashmi said he did agree there needed to be a consistent policy, but that he thought if the city should give a discount to those residents who did not have water and sewer, that the city should do so. He said if the city could not give a discount and they were going to keep them in the city, that he thought they should sincerely try all efforts to get water and sewer services to them, or at least develop a plan as to when the city will provide those services to the residents. We were denied at that time disannexation. Our property meets several of the 7 criteria that are mentioned in the disannexation policy that was adopted by the city. It states that we only have only one, but we meet several of those. I don't see in any sight that this is going to happen. I just don't see it. I mean, it's been since 1998, and why should we continue paying city and Paris Junior College taxes when there appears to be just no hope for receiving the city services of water and sewer? Therefore, my husband and I respectfully ask that you councilmen vote yes and allow our property to be disannexed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dennison?
Yeah, I'm David Dennison. I reside at 3715 Eagle Bend in Paris. I own the property actually the address is 2450 Wildwood Lane. Like Ms. Hudgens was saying, in 2013 we were denied the disannexation. The property to the north of me, which butts up right next to mine, was disannexed 2 years before that. Property to the east of me was 17 acres that Bob and Martha Crockett owned. It was disannexed, and as soon as that happened, Dr. Richard Grossnickel, who was on the city council at the time, bought it. Terry and Dana Webster's property to the north of me, she had requested that get disannexed because there wasn't sewer service available. Hers was disannexed. I did the same thing with no avail. So, as Ms. Lancaster was saying a while ago, 100%, pleasure out of all the citizens and everything, considering the sidewalks and all that. We're not getting full city services, although we are paid full city taxes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pickle, any questions or concerns?
None at all.
Any opinion? What?
I think we owe it to them to de-annex them. I think we shouldn't have done it in the first place.
Mr. Frierson?
I agree.
Mr. Clifford?
I agree as well.
Mr. Pilado?
I might as well.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no questions, but I agree.
Ms. Lancaster?
I absolutely agree.
I will also agree. I think if there was any sight that we had of providing them services, then we should have kept them. We had made innumerable promises. We really didn't keep up to those promises. And not only did we not keep up the promises, but I think from the engineering plans which were presented, it was said that to take water or not water, but sewer lines out there would be detrimental because the lines would break down or whatever the concern was because of poor flow in them. Is that correct?
Correct, water to both.
Okay, so I would favor this, and I think we should allow them to disannex. This is not an action item today, but what we will give directions to the city staff to proceed with disannexation per their request. But now, there are some others who are here who want to talk about it. Let me just see whether it allows us to consider you or not. Can they speak? Is it allowed?
If they're going to speak on the subject.
If you're going to speak precisely on this subject, you can speak.
Okay, all right, where she's at.
Please come up and tell us who you are and.
My name's Patsy Smith. I live at 1186 Airport Road. We have property on both ends of where she's at. And there's other people here also that's on that same strip. So if they're going to get de-annexed, why can't we? I mean, you're taking one person right here and you got people on this side, you got people on this side.
You most certainly can, if the council agrees to it, but you've got to apply for it. These people have applied, and that is why their names are on, but you most certainly can apply and go through the same process.
We all would like to apply.
Please follow whatever the process is, and we'll bring it back to the council as an agenda item.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, do you want to say something? Anybody? Please come on up. Come up to the mic, please.
Well, at the beginning,
Can we please identify yourself, please?
Larry Smith, live on Airport Road, 1186. Okay, when we were took in on Airport Road to come off 271 all the way around to city limits. So if you're gonna take one out, why can't you take all of us out? We started at the beginning on this.
As I said, you can just have to go through the process of application.
I thought that's what we was doing tonight.
No, today is not an application process. You have to apply to the city for disannexation, and the city manager or the city attorney can tell you what the process of disannexation is. And you just apply and make an application and follow the rules.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Jody Humphrey. I live directly across the street from Debbie Hudgens. My back property line is the city limits. So, I mean, I'm right there. I'm of the same concern. We're all in the same boat. I'm just afraid you have opened a can of worms tonight because a lot of people will be applying.
It's not a question of can of worms. The issue here is that the city should either provide services that have been promised, or the promise needs to be kept, or we need to move one way or another.
When I say you've opened a can of worms, there's going to be a lot of people applying for disannexation, and they deserve it.
Right. And that's fine. As I said, you can apply for and go through the process. And
my concern is here. I remember Bill Strathern was on the council, and he applied for disannexation of his property in 200 and something other acres. And the council was unanimous to disannex that. 2 months later, we applied for disannexation for the same reasons, and it was 6-1 against us. So I want this council to remember what they're doing tonight, so when we all apply, the council votes the same.
Obviously, I'm not going to speak for how the other people will vote, but you have my support. We either provide you services or we allow you to disannex.
Thank you.
May I ask one question of all y'all? Who provides your water?
Lamar County.
Okay.
Yes.
Here, I mean, thank you.
It's Lamar County Water Distribution.
I know, I just wanted to clarify.
Oh, okay. Do any of the other people who are sitting here want to talk about it, or are they satisfied with all the answers and directions given? Are all of you satisfied with the answers? Whoever is from Airport Road? Okay. Yes. Thank you. Yes, please, Mr. City Attorney wants to say something.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The last time this came up, and this was, I think, late 2013, the last time we had, it started with the Hudgens, we had several others out on Airport Road that asked to be de-annexed as well, and it was denied, I think, at that time. I just want the council to keep in mind that we do have to maintain a contiguous city boundary. We can't be creating holes, punching holes here and there, and not having a consistent city boundary, or we're going to create other problems for the city, for operations and for any future growth or.
Well, tell me if it is not in the city boundary right now. Is it doing that when the entire street or when the entire airport road is almost asking for? And I don't want to speak for everyone, at least for the people who are here.
I think one of the speakers just pointed that out. He was on the south side of Airport Road. Mr. and Ms. Hudgens are on the north side of Airport Road. And they're still, the Hudgens property, as I remember, approximately 1,700 linear feet from the city boundary, the southern city boundary. So, they weren't all annexed in individually. They were annexed in as a large piece back in 1997. And I just want the council to keep that in mind.
Okay, well, we'll keep that in mind. All of you, please keep that in mind, what the city attorney has directed. My decision has not changed.
I'm not asking you to change your decision. I just think when we bring it back to you, whenever y'all want it brought back, we need to look at it more globally as a bigger picture.
Okay.
For boundary.
Can I say one thing? I know they're not getting charged city sewers. The only thing they're complaining about is taxes. And no? What else? Taxes. They're complaining about PJC tax and paying parish taxes. And I just don't understand that they sometimes it baffles me how people that they use all the services the city has to offer, but yet they don't want to pay any taxes.
No, we're not complaining about the taxes. We're not getting full city services, even though we're getting charged full city taxes for it.
You don't pay sewer. They don't charge you for sewer.
Yes, we do too.
They shouldn't.
No, they don't. No, you're right. We would if we were provided that.
Right.
But I've already put in a $9,000 septic system now, so I don't need it. In my area on Wildwood Lane, I've never seen a policeman down there. I know the ambulance service has been there twice. I see the trash truck. I've had a shop out there for a little over a year. I've never put out a bag of trash. That doesn't bother me. But I don't have a sewer service, so that's why I don't want to pay. I mean, that's why we're having to pay full city taxes, even though we don't pay sewer. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay, I'm going to stop at this point. I think the council has given their opinion on this matter, and whoever is interested can apply. And so we'll go after that and put it on the next agenda or the following agenda whenever their application comes in. But if the council agrees, I'd suggest put it on as an agenda item at a time when most of them have done it, so that we don't have to go through every individual, every council meeting. Is that okay with all of you? All right. All right, so with that said, we are going to move on to the next agenda item. That is item number 20, which is discuss Coxfield Airport utilities.
And I'll be real brief here. You kind of alluded to this back a year and a half ago, a year ago. City Council authorized a contract with Neil Schaefer Engineers to provide engineering services to extend water and sewer out towards the airport, to include properties along the way and also the airport itself. Two of the things that were included in the initial work by Neil Schaefer, one was the best routes to take because it's very long distance out there, and the other thing was to figure out flows. The problem with such a long distance, not to go into all the engineering details, if you don't have enough water or enough sewer in a line, it won't run to the other end. It's kind of like if you have a 50-foot water hose and you put a cup of water in it, it won't come out the other end. It'll go in there, but it won't come out. And so for that distance, based on the number of customers, potential customers, current development at the airport, we hope that changes over the years, the current development at the airport, there's not enough water to make it run adequately and safely. So that water will sit and go stagnant in the line, and it can make people sick. Same thing with the sewer line, the mayor alluded to. When the sewer line doesn't flow on a regular basis, it goes septic, very septic. It can cause explosions, it can cause concrete, it can cause metal to erode and eventually just turn into powder. So bottom line is, from an engineering perspective, from a water flow perspective, it's not possible to build lines that will work all the way out there. So for that reason, the engineer developed a three-phase plan for water and a three-phase plan for sewer. Met with the council probably close to a year ago now, and they've been working on that since then. The first phase of water, which we expect to bid out probably, this calendar year, our goal is August, September to bid out the first phase of water. That will be to run water from Dawn Drive along the loop, across Old Clarksville Road, and back across the loop again to take in that area. That's as far as we can go. It'll function. So phases 2 and 3 depend on development out there, residential development, commercial development, airport development. That'll be a year, that'll be 10 years, that'll be 20 years. We simply don't know because we can't predict what kind of development we'll get out there. Again, we hope the airport will become a popular place for development. We have no way of knowing that. So that phase is all that will happen in the foreseeable future. Sewer is even more of a problem. We want to be able to go that distance. The only thing we looked at the sewer was possibly, and I think Ms. Lancaster was involved in some of those discussions with the airport, whatever it's called, the extra board that met for a while, to even just a giant package plant out at the airport as opposed to running lines out there at all. The good thing, so to speak, that we did run across in all of these investigations and routings and so forth was the Margraves edition, which was annexed many, many years ago, kind of the situation these folks are talking about, has water but no sewer. And so we've instructed the engineers to look at the Margraves edition and see how can we serve those folks who've been in the city for a number of years in the same situation. It will work because it's closer. It is a service we've not provided that we think we should provide and we can provide with the funds that are available. The other good news about that is we have 3 lift stations out there. And again, none of y'all are engineers, but lift stations are something that you want to not have if you can avoid possibly having them. Running sewer into new sewer line, new sewer main, and providing sewer service to the Margraves edition. It's got a different name, Paradise Estates too, if you know about that name maybe. We can get rid of 3 lift stations. So over the long term, we'll provide services to those folks. We'll get rid of those lift stations, which will save us a lot of maintenance, a lot of electricity, a lot of headaches over the years, and it'll also provide a safer, more secure service. So although the bad news is we can't run sewer all the way to the airport, we do have a lot of folks that we can pick up, and that's a project we hope to bid sometime early in the calendar year 2016. So we do have 2 projects coming forward, but we're not going to get to the airport. We're not going to get to these folks for a long time, and so that's where we are on that. So that's how those 2 things go together.
Thank you. Anybody has any questions on this item?
So
Mr. Pickle.
the sewer we can get to Margraves Edition. The water, we've still got to run all the way out to the airport.
Well, eventually, we hope to need to, but as far as we're going to be able to go now is just across the loop. What we want to do is go ahead and acquire the right-of-way, or the easements rather, to get there so that we have it available.
But we're not going to run the water lines in?
No, we won't be able to go past.
I just didn't want us to.
About the ball fields is as far south as we'll be able to go with water. So.
That's fine, okay.
Mr. Franklin, any questions? Dr. Clifford?
How close is the Reno sewer to this area?
It's really close. In fact, Reno is wanting to buy water from us directly if they're allowed to. It's not our deal. They've got a dispute with the water district right now. Their contract expired for them, I think, in 2019. So that's something we've talked about just informally. Would it be possible for you to serve some of this area if you wanted to? So it's a possibility.
Something to look into, I guess.
Absolutely, and especially for the airport area.
Mr. Plata?
No.
Mr. Jenkins?
No questions, sir.
Ms. Lancaster?
No questions.
That takes care of item number 20. Item number 21 was placed by me, and that was to discuss the possibility of providing citywide services that are related to water, sewer, and fire hydrants to the underserviced area in the city of Paris, and provide direction to the staff. I think part of this question, Mr. Godwin has already answered, but I was in particular referring to Margrave's addition, where there is a severe lack of fire hydrants. And interestingly, apparently there was a fire at one point and people could not find where this addition was. Mr. Godwin has already surveyed the area. They have a major problem with drainage issues too, but that's not what we're discussing right now. Water and sewer is what we are discussing. And those people do not want to get disannexed from the city. They want to stay in the city limit. They're right behind Morningside. And if there is some way of helping them out, we should do that.
That's in the works.
Okay. Mr. Pickle.
Well,
Yes, any comments? Anything?
no,
Okay.
let's just move right ahead.
Okay. Mr. Frierson?
I don't have any questions.
Dr. Clifford?
I've got several people who live out Highway 79 that I spoke with during the campaign who had been in the city for a long time and they really wanted sewer and water and they don't have it and they've been in for almost as long as these people have. But if it's feasible and economically feasible, I'd like to look into that as well.
And if I can do this more specifically.
Okay.
Mr. Pilata?
No.
Mr. Jenkins?
No, sir.
Ms. Lancaster?
Not at this time.
Okay. The next item is item 22, discuss and act on resolution approving a tax abatement agreement with Paris Lakes Medical Center LLC. There are two things I'd like to say on this. Number one, I have no conflict of interest. I'm not participant of that hospital or the other hospital. Number two, that I fully support Mr. Parker's thoughts of creating a hospital. But since he had a big issue last time with me voting on it, I'm going to recuse myself in spite of the fact that I would have supported him. But I'll recuse myself from this item.
And I'm going to recuse myself for a conflict of interest.
Ms. Lancaster, you're in charge.
Okay, we want to discuss and act on a resolution approving a tax.
Because otherwise we
Can
won't
I
bring
get
you
a-
back.
can I get a motion?
Otherwise we won't bring you back.
Oh, you will.
We brought you back.
I'll make a motion that we allow y'all to recuse
Okay,
yourselves.
second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Item number 22, discuss and act on a resolution approving a tax abatement agreement with Paris Lakes Medical Center LLC. Do I have any discussion?
Do you want me to just?
Yeah.
Is there-
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
I'll go ahead and give the quick rundown on it. I know that the Ron Parker's here tonight, and he may have some things to say. Just briefly, this is the area, the 40 acres that we created, the city council created the reinvestment zone on back in December 2014. Mr. Parker, Ron Parker, has worked with the tax abatement subcommittee over the last year or so on trying to negotiate a proposed tax abatement agreement, which we brought before the city council tonight. He's proposed to build an acute care hospital with at least 64 beds and 170,000 square feet of finished hospital space, 4 medical office buildings, 3 of which are 60,000 square feet minimum, and with one's with an ambulatory surgical center, radiology, physical therapy. The other one, number 2, is for a proposed oncology center and physician offices. Number 3 is a long-term acute care nursing facility and physician offices. And number 4, medical office building number 4 is smaller, 16,000 square feet of finished space proposed for an urgent care center and physician offices and a leasing office. And they're asking for a 10-year, 100% tax abatement, provided that they complete all these improvements that I just laid out before you by June 1st, 2018. That's their completion date. If they don't complete the 4 medical office buildings and the hospital by that date, then they will drop down to just a scale tax abatement over 7 years on whatever they completed by June 1st, 2018. Any questions?
Oh, may I start?
Any questions?
So, and just, so like say the next year, will there be any taxes paid? Or will they be abated and then?
We base the tax rate at $3 million as the land as a tax base for right now. We're asking for 10 years, but as we talked about, it's really going to be about an 8 if you start after full completion.
Okay.
The other thing is we did not request it from PJC because we need them to have all the money they can get their hands on to keep the nurses and keep our colleges and schools. We took that as schools. That was not something we wanted to do. So that's how we applied. It was only city and county.
Okay, city and county.
And we shortened it up to start now, just to kind of in good faith to keep our city going, to keep everything going and help us as well.
Okay, this is an administrative question. With the things that have gone on with the PEDC lately and whatnot, will the city be responsible for monitoring this abatement?
If the city council instructs us to do so, as of right now, we would have to because there is no PEDC staff to do so. So yes.
Okay, thank you.
John, this is,
Can,
go ahead.
one other thing, we talked with Jerry, and we're going to give him he's going to get reports, full reports from us every year as we're going through construction and every year after that from because we'll be running the Property Owners Association, which is the collective public areas, as well as all the leasing office. So he'll get those reports, irregardless at the tax level. Now, I'm sure that's going to come to the city and county and everyone else. But we'll be glad to, you point and tell us who to give it to. We'll have all that information ready to go.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Frierson, do you
John,
have anything to say?
Yes, this is what you and Chuck, I guess the county is on board with this?
Yes, and to kind of follow up on what Mr. Parker said, there was somewhat of a negotiation to this, and part of that agreement that all parties agreed, and this is the committee to remind you, is the city manager, the county judge, the college president, and the chief appraiser. And part of that negotiation was that we would recommend the 10-year 100% for whatever's built when it's built. But that in exchange for some of that Mr. Parker would, as he said, let the junior college out of that. It doesn't help our tax coffers, but it does contribute to the community. We think that's important. So we thought that was a good deal. So yeah, it was a unanimous agreement by members of that committee.
Right. Well, for what it's worth, Ron and I've talked over the time, and I support you. So that's good with me. I like the fact that PJC's got to struggle with their funding right now. So if they keep increasing
that's what
values,
she said, and we didn't have that information, or when we first started down this road, we thought all three factions had to be inclusive, and so that's where we were headed. And then we found out in this last meeting that we had with the committee that it could be they're all individual
pieces.
We didn't know that, so I said, well, that doesn't. Here's the solution. Let's just keep the PJC because we need you guys. In fact, I had a meeting with Newterra today. They flew down to have a meeting this morning, and I brought them up to speed about PJC exclusively, about the nursing program and about housing, because we're trying to make more newer jobs and all this other stuff to go with it. And they were very happy about that, and I told them exactly what we discussed and what we were about to do tonight.
Well, for what it's worth, for those of you guys that may not know, if PJC continues to get their tax base, it's also within the city limits. So Paris ISD also struggles to have, they're kind of landlocked, so their opportunity and viability to bring new revenue in is also difficult. So this would support that as well. So.
And I think the state has asked for some specific things to change as far as their tax base. State has.
Right. Yeah, that was one of the issues. That's
and we definitely do not want to lose our junior college.
I can't afford that to happen. That's just that's because they not only have a supply of nurses, but they're good nurses. It's hard to find a school that actually puts out good product.
Yeah. Mr. Plata?
I really don't have any questions. I'm for it. I support it. I hope you have a good endeavor.
Mr. Jenkins?
I agree.
Thank you, sir.
I want to see that it's get done.
Well, we certainly do want to see you grow and prosper. I only have one question. When are you going to start, actually?
We actually got the lease signed today.
Ah.
Done. So we made the application Friday, I believe, for permits, all permits. The MOB 1, 2, and 4 will all start. They're starting now. As soon as we get our permits finished up, about 3 weeks or 3 to 4 weeks, I
About
think
three,
it was.
4 weeks? Well, that would be good.
We've graded the site, the pads are
Well,
there.
I knew you had done that,
And
yes.
we've made application for the, actually, we got a change on the civil that you're getting that Joey's waiting on. We talked to him today. We're moving where our lines are going around. So other than that, we're ready to go. We're off and running.
Does anybody else have anything they want to say?
I make a motion, we approve the abatement agreement as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron.
Make a motion to bring back our 2 missing members.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Somebody needs to go get her.
I think somebody did.
No.
And the little John.
Gene went to get them, I think. Maybe they ran away. Well, here they come.
What are we to 22?
We're on 24. 23. 24? Yep, 24.
23. I'm sorry?
23 we already did.
Yeah, no, there is an item that I have a conflict of interest on.
On F.
Okay.
F.
Can I make a motion to please take item F out, because I have a conflict of interest on item F, whatever that item is, yeah. On item 24 is discuss and conduct a public hearing and act on an ordinance changing the zoning from a commercial district to a general retail on the following properties. And if I can get a motion to take item F out of this, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And you can discuss that item later, whatever, which way you want to do it. Okay, Mr. Godwin, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Very quickly, the future land use plan, future land use map calls for Highway 82 East to all be ultimately zoned general retail, or GR. Some of it is GR currently, but there's a number of properties that are currently zoned commercial. There's one that's zoned agriculture, and then there's a few that are even zoned light industrial. In some cases, that doesn't hurt, kind of a no harm, no foul thing, but there are some uses that we think probably do not fit out there. I don't know who was on the council or planning and zoning commission when in fact, here's what it is. This is the future land use plan. That red is what some city council and some planning and zoning commission said should be ultimately general retail. We think that still makes sense. There may be some exceptions. I don't know any off the top of my head, but there's usually exceptions to some rules. This, by contrast, is what's out there now. You see a significant portion of that is zoned commercial. We've talked about with the city council 2 or 3 different times in the past. I suggested to the council at that time that we ask the Planning and Zoning Commission to review that so that we bring up most, if not all, of those properties to be consistent with the future land use plan. Again, this versus this. In order to protect that neighborhood from uses that might come along that are just not appropriate for that particular neighborhood. I've got a copy of the zoning ordinance here with me. I won't go through that list of land uses, but there's a number of uses that we feel like just simply don't fit very well in there. That's by way of introduction for all of these zoning items. This is the first group here, minus F. These are the ones that are in black type are ones that are existing established businesses which would, changing them from commercial or zone commercial now, changing them to general retail will not impact their ability to continue to function. Their zone, for example, CVS is allowed in retail or in commercial, so it doesn't affect what they're doing right now. It could affect what they do in the future. If they wanted to tear down the CVS, put a funeral home in there, it might have an effect on that, but what they're doing right now would be allowed. The 4 projects, or the 4 properties, I'm sorry, that are highlighted in blue, we're just talking about 3 right now, those 3 are vacant lots. And so what they're doing right now obviously is allowed because it's just vacant. It would somewhat limit what they could do in the future, but it wouldn't have any immediate impact. So the reason these are grouped together, these 15 properties are grouped together, is that the zoning change would have no impact on what they're doing with their property currently.
Thank you, Mr. Godwin. Before we go to the council, can I ask Mr. Harper to come up, please, for just a second? You are the chairperson for the P&Z.
Yes, Mayor, I am.
This item came in front of you.
And it was voted unanimously against changing this.
Can you explain?
I'll be happy, that's why, one of the reasons I'm here. And then, while some of these properties you see on there have no effect, some have a big effect. And one of them specifically is the raw land and Reno Paint and Body. Reno Paint and Body owns a 20 to 25,000 square foot paint and body shop that is specifically only allowed in commercial or light industrial. It's not allowed in retail. If he wants a building permit, he can't get one to expand. If he wants to sell his business, he will not be able to sell his business to someone else and maintain it throughout that period of time. If you own the big raw land north of there, that 4.5 acres, and you wanted to put in, I don't know, a Freightliner dealership, that is a property that's only allowed in commercial. So when this request came from City Council down to Planning and Zoning, and we made a blanket request to change all these properties retail, while many of them it would not affect. For some of these landowners, it does affect them. It allows them not to be able to improve their businesses. It doesn't allow their business, the owners of raw land, if they want to do specific things with them, we have limited the ability for people to develop this property for the highest value that it is currently in state. And so the Planning and Zoning denied that and requested that it be brought to an individual basis, knowing that the future land map requires it to be retail, and then that future developments would be negotiated at the, each of these properties would actually have to be replatted and go before P&Z and then come back before this board.
Thank you. Mr. Pickle, any questions?
I'm hearing two different things, and I'm not sure if maybe I just don't understand. You were saying it would have no effect on these owners.
No immediate effect on these specific 15. Again, 11 of those have a building right now. Their use would not be disallowed. It would not become an illegal use. The 4 that are vacant, you don't know what they, which is what I think he's saying, part of it, is that you don't know what they may do in the future.
The other thing is you cannot get a building permit. So if he wanted to expand and add another paint bay to his, the way that the law is written today, if I change you into retail and you want to add another bay to paint, paint and body, that would not be allowed.
And that's, I'm not arguing with, I just want to.
Well, let me say this then, that, given that was not supposed to be on this list, because this list of 15 is supposed to be ones that are allowed in retail and commercial. And if you're saying it's not allowed in retail,
no, sir.
Then it shouldn't have been on this list. So I agree completely with that too.
The paint and body, the 4.5 acres of raw land, everything, but anyway, there's.
Yeah.
So does that make sense what I'm saying? This is supposed to be people who it would not affect, and it sounds like one of these, that's a mistake, so.
But the raw land would also affect.
Right, and that's why I highlighted those, because they are different. You don't know what they may or may not do in the future. Of course, in some cases, they probably don't either.
But now, except for 4250 Lamar, and I thought we've already zoned it.
It's not zoned. It's zoned commercial.
Commercial.
Right. They're all zoned. All these are zoned commercial.
Yeah, but.
And I agree too, whatever your specific, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing deal. You can say yes to 7 of these and no to 8 of them, or whatever you want to do. I mean.
The request came for all properties on Lamar. That's 50-something properties. That's a lot to go through in a P&Z meeting, planning and zoning meeting. We broke it into just the southern half to take care of that. And when we got through there, we had numerous citizens that said they did not want to be changed.
How many did you have?
I had 4 against and 1 for.
Mr. Frierson, any questions?
No, I mean, I had some questions. I think Edwin that's touched on kind of the main one, but anybody that's in that block now, they would be grandfathered in, for lack of a better term, and I mean, they wouldn't have to stop what they're doing, anything along those lines. I just want to be clear on all that.
Right. If you're an allowed use in both, it won't affect you at all, and that's, I I hope, everybody but the one he's talking about, which shouldn't have been on this list, should have been on the next list. In that case, they can continue to do what they're doing, but they can't expand, they can't sell it to somebody else, and they can't let it stay vacant for so many months, or then it would become an illegal use. So what they're doing right now, that scope, that ownership, it would be illegal, non-conforming use. So I would think Reno Paint Body would want to take it at least off of this list, whatever you do with it.
And to follow up on that, just to be clear, since it came to us, if I'm reading correctly, it has to be a three-fourths vote of the council.
That's correct.
But we could, in fact, carve out Reno Paint Body in the vacant land if we so chose. Still by the three-quarter vote.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you're gonna not do it, you're not overruling P and Z, so then it's probably just I don't know, it's a lawyer question or something.
Yeah, I think, well, because P and Z didn't, I mean, P and Z denied the whole, all 15. I think if you all are gonna pick one out and try to approve 14, I think you're still gonna have to overcome that P and Z denial with a three-quarter vote, which a six-member council vote. That's how I see it. I don't see how you can, because P and Z didn't go through each one of those and say, okay, I mean, they did a denial on all
So the answer
15.
is you need a supermajority?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
That was your question. Mr. Frierson, any other questions?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. Dr. Clifford? Mr. Pilata?
Yes, I do. I understand about Reno Paint Body, but if we went on ahead and zoned everything else, general retail, along with 4.5 acres, couldn't they come back if the person bought that and come back and petition and change the plating and change it to if they were to put it in a truck line or whatever?
So let me give an example of that. Mr. Plata, you were on P and Z at one time. You have a piece of property and you can always go down. So if I'm in commercial, I can always do retail, but if I'm in retail, I can't go back up. And therefore, if you have a Reno Paint Body or you have a piece of raw land and we blanket that to be retail, it would have to go back to P and Z to do a public hearing for all properties within a 200-foot radius. The recommendation would most likely would be against changing the zoning because it's already in a retail zone. It's recommended as a retail zone. And they would then come back to this board to do that. But the answer is yes, it could be changed.
It could be changed.
That is
That
correct.
person, they could go and file to change it to commercial, correct?
That is correct.
But you're saying that
You're taking
just-
value
you-
away from people is what I would say. If
Yeah.
you've got a piece of raw land or you have a business that's in next, Reno Paint Body is probably the most likely. You're taking value from that when you take them from commercial and put them in retail. When you take somebody who's got raw land in commercial, they bought that property, it was already commercial. You then put them in retail, you're taking value away from that landowner.
Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Plata, are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no questions.
Ms. Lancaster?
I have no questions.
I have some concerns. First of all, I don't like the idea of having a general body change of all the zoning of every property owner, whether they like it or not. So I'm against it. Having said that, I had a conversation with Mr. Godwin about it, and he was concerned that supposing tomorrow there is a strip club who wants to come and open in this area, there's nothing to prevent it from happening. Correct? Is that what you said?
There are a number of land uses that are allowed, that are allowed by right. I believe a sexually oriented business is allowed with an SUP, but yes, there are a number, that's why commercial and retail are different.
So what my thoughts would be, and I'll have to defer it to the city attorney to ask, things that, all of this stemmed from this Glick issue, and so why can't in our ordinance we place the things that we absolutely do not want there? Which means that if it's a sexually oriented business, as you were talking about, and it's a residential neighborhood right next to it, that we put in our ordinance that when you have commercial zoning, there are some carve-outs in it, and those carve-outs are that you can't have this business or that business. And then we don't have to go through rezoning of all these properties, and just have in our ordinance that there are certain uses within commercial. In other words, what I'm saying is, we just modify to some extent our commercial land use.
So
Without changing everybody's zoning and without making loss of property value, as Mr. Harper is saying, but realizing what we just went through, just add a few things to our ordinance in commercial, that these things would not be a sexually oriented business, would not.
So you're talking about basically changing the allowed and disallowed uses
Yes,
on this chart?
and I'll have
You
to.
can do that. The problem with that is, keep in mind, there are properties zoned all over the city that are commercial. So you may make somebody an illegal or illegal non-conforming use somewhere else in a different neighborhood.
But what we have done already for that is we have created another ordinance, which we did last time, of what is authorized and non-authorized use in commercial areas, in other areas where you can get a permit for as an exclusion. So, city attorney will have to, you want to say something, go ahead, and then we'll ask the city attorney what are the possibilities.
Mr. Godwin, just that sexually oriented businesses require a specific use permit, which requires public notice, public hearing, goes before planning and zoning, and also comes back before this board. It would be unlikely that that would happen in this project.
Well, it doesn't say, the ordinance doesn't, it lists that as one of the things that's
With a specific use permit?
No.
With a special use permit?
just allowed.
Yeah, it's allowed.
Because I thought that's why.
It has to have
a
a sexually, I think what you're talking about maybe is, it has to have an SOB permit, which goes through the police department, and they do all kinds of background checks. It's a pretty thorough process that they go through with the police department to get a licensed SOB in the city.
But zoning wise, it is listed as an allowed use in commercial.
If I can get back to my question from the city attorney, is that a doable thing, that we don't change everybody's zoning and we just create those uses that we absolutely feel as a council that we should not allow it in that area, that those things be placed in it? Or if they are to be placed, that if you want to use it for one of those, then you require a special permit for it?
Yes, sir. The answer to that, the short answer is yes, you can do that. We need to take a different approach because it's come before the city council as a retail zoning request. So we have to send it back to P&Z and have them study commercial zoning districts. They'd want to look at them citywide and see if there was uses in the commercial zoning district that you want to take out, take out or add on.
So I'm going to ask the council, do the council members have any problem if we send it back to P&Z and have them relook at this and say that can you add these things as caveats into our ordinance and not go through this entire zoning process on everyone?
Mayor, can I make a recommendation?
Sure, go ahead.
I would leave the zoning as it is. I would not change the documents that we have today because it's the documents we've used for a long time. They're simple. The real issues in this deal are some pieces of raw land, especially big ones, and they can be changed. And I think and Reno Paint and Body are the critical ones that I think.
Yeah, I don't want to beat this to death. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I don't have a dog in this fight one way or another. But I just want to be clear. Just like you suggested and the city attorney said, and I agree, you can do it that way. But I just want to make sure you understand. You probably already do. But for example, if you look on this land, this literally the use, and one of them is car wash. It's allowed in commercial, but it's not allowed in general retail. And let's just say that's one of the ones, we don't want more car washes on 82. Well, that means every other car wash in town will become an illegal non-conforming use. So you will affect every other car wash in town that's in a commercial zoning. You can't just limit that to that one neighborhood. It'll affect and there are dozens, if not hundreds, of commercial properties all over town, many of which are developed and many of which are undeveloped, which bought the land hoping to build something and now they won't be able to.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, by the same token, they're all grandfathered into it, which you were going to do over here anyway.
Right, but again, I'm just saying this, in order to not affect 15 properties, you're gonna affect maybe 200 properties. If that's what you wanna do, again, you can do that. I just wanna make sure you understand what that's doing. It's affecting a lot more properties.
I'm just going to make it short for myself. I'm opposed to this public, general, arbitrary, complete change of everybody's zoning, whether they like it or not. It's just not my idea. I think there need to be some caveats on it, and I mean, I just don't think it's a good idea, but anyway, however the council wants to decide to proceed. Mr. Pickle, anything further on this item?
I agree with you completely.
But.
No. I'm only thinking, it's no wonder that the city staff had a problem figuring out what to do with the Glicks when it came time to issue a permit there. Because if nobody else can agree, then it's no wonder they were as confused as we all are.
Mr. Frierson?
No, I mean, I think Edwin hit the nail on the head. And my concern is if we leave it as is, and Holland makes some very good points and some that I really hadn't thought of, if we leave it as is, we are conceivably setting ourselves up to go down this exact same road. And now we know about it and we still did it. So I'm concerned about that. But I'm kind of torn. I understand the landowner's freedom, for lack of a better term, that they want, but I don't have any other questions.
Dr. Clifford?
No questions. I'm for leaving it as it is.
Mr. Pillara?
You brought up a lot of good points. I can't say I have a question, but I just want to say and I saw that, the paint and body shop, and I was going to say something about it, but I guess to what you asked, well, why can't we pull the stuff that we know we don't want out of that commercial zoning? I think we need to talk about that some more. Why can't we do it?
I see no reason why it can't be done personally, but again, Mr. Jenkins, anything further?
Not in right now.
Ms. Lancaster? Okay, well, yeah.
I'm leaning toward leaving it like it is.
Okay. So, I hate to make this motion. I don't know whether it's going to pass or not, but I'll make a motion that this item be brought back with suggestions that whether they can be additions or subtractions out of our commercial zoning process, and we hear the recommendations before we make any further decisions on this.
They being?
City.
Okay.
In the sake of time, can I suggest that you make that motion for these next, all of these items?
If every council member is agreeable on the other agenda item, I am perfectly fine with it. Is everybody comfortable with that? Yes, no, hello?
All the rest of these, the ones that
On
are
the next page,
changes.
yeah. So what we are doing, let me take a motion to, first of all, to combine item number 24 and item number, which is the other item?
25, 26.
Item 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. No, 30, 31.
31.
Can I make a motion to combine these items?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now that we are kosher on that, let's go back to this. Now that we have combined this, my motion is that we let the city staff re-review the policies and come back to us suggesting if there are caveats that can be made into our ordinance, suggestions, and then bring it back to the council for us to review. I made the motion. Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 7-0 for a change. Okay.
I'd say, can I say,
Yeah.
Mr. Harper, thank you for bringing that up to our attention. Appreciate it.
All right, so now we go to item number
32.
Can we just take a minute's break, or does everyone want to continue on?
I want to get let's move that.
Okay, all right. I guess we move to the next item. Next item is 32. Yeah. I really like this slide. Okay, so this item was placed on the agenda by me. And this is with reference to the formation of a City of Paris Charter Review Committee. The City of Paris is governed by its charter, and we, the council members, are supposed to follow the dictates of the charter. In the year 2007, a detailed charter review was done by the citizens of Paris, and this was accomplished by a committee of people who were assigned the task of charter review. This committee made suggestions that were initially approved by the council to be placed on the ballot for that year for the citizens to vote on. Now, there have been other charter reviews. I didn't write them because this was a huge charter review. Of Mr. Richards is here. I don't know how many points were in it, but there were a lot. Since charter amendments can only be done once every 2 years, it is important to try to consolidate all amendments to the charter at one time. There has been repeated calls by the residents of this community for various things, including a citywide election for a mayor. There also are concerns on part of the residents that our voting numbers during our city elections are small in May when compared to the numbers in November elections. The issue of poor voting is not limited to the city of Paris, but is also seen in other communities throughout the state of Texas, as well as all over the United States. Due to this concern, even the state of Texas is bringing about a bill in Senate Bill 733 that will move local elections to November. The city of Paris, however, maintains by law is allowed to move its local elections to November if the majority of the voters in the city decide to do that. It requires a charter amendment to do that. We as a city can be proactive and lead this by moving our elections to November. The idea is to have a larger voter turnout so that elections are not determined by any special interest group, but by residents who appreciate the services of candidates who have demonstrated their commitment to the community. My suggestion for this was each council member nominate an individual that they feel can do a good job by being on the Charter Review Committee, as was done 9 years ago. Since time is of the essence, if you support the issue, and this is for the council members, if you support the issue, please come prepared with a name, is what I had sent. The committee should be a 7-member committee with each council member nominating a member to the committee. The Charter Review Committee that is chosen will be given until the second meeting in July to come up with proposed charter amendments for the council's consideration. The council will consider these proposals, and the issues brought up will be put to a vote of the citizens in November 2015 election. Each council member can make their suggestions as to what they think is important to them as far as changes in the charter is concerned, and submit it to the Charter Review Committee for their review. Mr. Pickle, any comments, concerns?
This Charter Review Committee will be totally independent of the city council,
Well, they'll have to bring it back.
but they'll present it, but I mean, we won't be involved in it at all, other than writing our suggestions, presenting our suggestions to them.
And they will bring it back
They'll
to
bring
the
it back.
council for its approval
Okay.
prior to getting it on the ballot.
And I'm sorry, I had a name until this afternoon and he pulled out. So,
Well, you can still suggest the name later, but
Yeah.
are you supportive of the idea or not supportive of the idea?
I don't, I'm supportive. I hope that November is not too much of a rush. I just don't know. But
Okay.
we can try that.
All right. Mr. Frierson?
My concerns are pretty simple. I don't understand, and maybe it's just a beginning idea, but the second meeting in July puts it at 3 meetings from tonight. That seems awfully hurried to me, and I wonder about that. There seems to be, that seems kind of an arbitrary date. Maybe there's something there. But I will say that in your comment about there has been repeated calls for by the residents for a citywide election of mayor. I don't know if I've ever, I don't. That's not necessarily the point. I've heard 2 people say it in the past year. So that seems interesting to me as well. And, overall, my initial feedback from the people that I know that have read the agenda and were prepared for this, really, I've still got people mad at me about the CIP committee, because there were various people put on that committee and they tried to make recommendations and were basically told thanks but no thanks. And there are still people mad at me today for the way the council treated them. So I think that's an interesting issue as well. So I wonder, quite honestly, it seems very forced, and I don't like that very much. I don't like the whole, I understand updating and keeping up, but there seem to be some things in here to me that, as it stands right now, I couldn't support this, no.
Mr. Clifford, Dr. Clifford, sorry.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I mean, the numbers of voters that come in November is going to be triple what they are in May, and that's what we all want. We want the voters to get involved, and so many people think on these other elections that my vote doesn't count, so I'm not going to take the trouble to go up there. But if you're already up there voting for the president or senator or whatever, I mean, that's just one of many things. There are numerous other things that we could look at, but no, I'm very strongly in favor of it.
Mr. Pilata?
Yes, I guess I'm in favor of it, but there is one, only concern I have is the second meeting in July, it seemed like a little hurried. I wish we could put a little more time on it, maybe till August or something like that begins, give people a little bit more time. A lot of people take vacations and stuff, it's a little hurried, but other than that, I'm in agreement. It probably needs to be changed.
Mr. Jenkins?
It's fine with me. I like it.
Ms. Lancaster?
I'm very much in favor of it.
Let me just tell you why July is written. Part of the reason why July is written is if you want it to come on the ballot in this November, you'll have to put it in by that day, meeting in July. You'll still have a couple of weeks here and there, but if you don't put it then it gets delayed all the way to next time. That's the only reason for the time, but again, it is very much possible that the committee may not be able to come up with suggestions. That's one possibility. The other possibility is, I think between the 7 of us, from what I've seen over the last 1 year, I don't think there is a whole lot of charter amendments. It's not like the committee that when Mr. Richards was on it, where there were about 65 or 70 charter amendments which were brought. All of us can suggest some things and they may think that it's right or not right or whatever, but I don't think there are that many amendments that we are looking for. So I don't think it will be that difficult to do it. And worst case scenario is if they don't come up with it, well, we have at least started the process, and if they don't, they can't make it, they can't make it. But I think we should form the committee and nominate whosoever we want to, and that's my suggestion.
Who do you want to give a name to?
To Mr. Godwin or, Janice?
Okay.
I mean, people who have the names, if they want to give, I came prepared with the name, so I'll give my name today. If we have to still, we have not formed a committee, so we first need to take a motion that we pass it before we start talking about names. So, Dr. Clifford, you were saying something?
I was going to move that we do that.
Okay, well, if you're going to move it, I'll second it. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Mr. Frierson. I'll give my suggestion that since I came prepared with the name, I'm going to suggest Mr. Charles Richard. He's done it before on this committee, and I'd suggest his name for the committee. Anybody else who has any suggestions?
Yeah, I was going to nominate Joni Moore on the committee as well.
Okay. Oh, you ran out of the person.
No,
Okay.
I have a name, but I'll just yell it
Okay.
on, but I'll give it to.
Okay.
I'll give it
that's
to
fine.
Janice.
Mr. Jenkins, you have any?
Yeah, I have Anna Spencer.
Okay. Mr. Frierson, though you were opposed, but would you suggest a name or?
I'll give it Janice on it.
Okay, thank you. All right.
And
Ms.
propose-
Lancaster, sorry.
It's okay. I'm going to propose John Wright.
Okay, all right. So you have some tentative names, and others will give you the names.
Yes.
All right. Item number 33, discuss and act on amendments on the policies and procedures for board and commissions and committees. Mr. Godwin, I think that's your item.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready. There's some inconsistencies that we kind of picked up on, we've mentioned to you a couple times before, specifically with the Board of Adjustment. State law requires you to have it a certain way, our local ordinance has it a certain way, and our policies, when they were amended a few years ago, actually had a blanket thing where people are supposed to be off for a 3-year term. BOA cannot be 3-year term. So Janice went back and made those changes. While she was looking at those changes, she also picked up just some administrative things that were in there. In your package, it's got in your red line version. A lot of that was just cleaned up. A lot of it was language that was in there for transitions when people were starting terms and having short terms and long terms, and those are over with because those are all existing boards. So other than the BOA, these are all administrative changes. That probably didn't make any sense, but hopefully you read your packets, and we recommend approval.
Mr. Pickle?
No, I'm good for Janice.
Okay. Mr. Frierson?
No comments. No question.
No problem. Ms. Lancaster, I'm not forgetting you this time. Can I have a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 34, discuss placement of a traffic light at intersection of Collegiate and Pine Mill Road and provide direction to the staff. Dr. Clifford.
I put this on the agenda since I'm fulfilling campaign promises tonight. Several people who live on Collegiate Avenue were concerned about the traffic on Collegiate, especially when school at Aiken lets in and out. They exceed the speed limit fairly regularly. As well, there's no regulation of the traffic, and a lot of those folks have to back out on the Collegiate. So if there were a light, it would regulate the traffic a little better. So I simply want to refer this item to the Traffic Commission and have them study the possibility about putting a light there.
Anybody from the council, just for the interest of time, anybody has any concerns or questions?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Although I resent him saying about getting speeding.
All right, so if that is the case, the council give direction to please bring it back. The time is now 9:12 p.m. We're going to go to item number 35, convene into executive session pursuant to 551.071 of Texas Government Code, consultations with attorney or receive legal advice from city attorney about pending or contemplated litigation and or matters in which the duty of an attorney to his clients under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with this chapter as follows. Ben Glick, DBA Tri-State Iron and Metal, appeals claim Ali Burris versus Ronika Blake, civil number 414 CV-00035 in United States District Court, Eastern District of Texas, Sherman Division. The time is 9:13 p.m. I'm sorry, the time is 9:13 p.m. and we'll go into executive session. 9:25 p.m. and we are back into open session. The city attorney brought the council members up to date on the 2 cases that were listed. No particular decisions were taken. Item number 37 is consider and approve future events for the city council or city staff pursuant to resolution 2004-081. Anyone has any suggestions, any events, anything? No. The only one request is remind me that I want to put recycling as an issue to be discussed again. With that.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.